so to speak, of some of the different ways that students come into the programs with prerequisites. So that's one of the things that I'm gonna be looking at over the next year, determining where there are commonalities within our prereqs and trying to, make it make sense, because right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Some of our programs have 2 or more semesters that students are just flat out sitting out of school. There's no classes going on, and I don't know how we got to that point. I don't know why that is. But what that gives students the opportunity to do is to leave. Because we know once we let them out of our grasp, we may not get them back. And so, I want to take a look at some of those holes that are in the program, and what do we do with those holes? It might be okay to keep those holes if they're being filled with another purpose, such as maybe there's an off-ramp during those 2 semester delays to get a certificate in something, or to start in a bachelor's program. What are we doing with those gaps? And right now, it seems to me like there's not a very good defined plan for what we're doing for those gaps. So, that's one of the things I want to start looking at. I love Peter Provenzano's message this morning, and Dr. Hearns, you as well, about we got to hang on to these students. The retention is so key. And right now, I am signing withdrawal slip after withdrawal slip after withdrawal slip. And I am looking at this like, is this normal? So I started pulling some data to see why we're losing students at the rate we're losing students. There's really no rhyme or reason. And what I really see a need for is wraparound services for these students. They come in the door with all kinds of baggage. I mean, these students are barely making it, living in cars and not eating the correct way. And some of them are working 2 and 3 jobs and taking care of parents and children, and it's rough. And so if I get one more student from or one more email from a student that says, I had an anxiety attack this morning on my way to class, I'm not gonna make it today, I'm like gonna gouge my eyes out. I'm like, we need to get these students some help. And it needs to be meaningful help, not a Band-Aid patch that will get them through the day, but actual services that we can wrap around them and say, hey, we got you. We can support you to completion. And so I think that message today from Dr. Provenzano was very timely. Students are doing more online, and that's not for everybody, but obviously it's the way that we're moving. And even in some of our health programs, some things are online asynchronous. And so that is, for me personally, I would crash and burn immediately on an online asynchronous. But my point is to bring some rhyme, some reason, and some resources to these students so we can set them up for success. And so that's my goal. Obviously, we are planning a move to the Orchard Ridge campus. That is a huge undertaking right now. There's so much that goes into it. And the end goal for me is I don't have a lot of concern about what the spaces are gonna look like. The spaces are the spaces, but what are we doing within those spaces? How are we collaborating within those spaces? Because right now, the situation that I've walked into in healthcare and nursing is some people in nursing don't even know these people over here at Southfield for healthcare. There's no collaboration, there's no talking, there's no sharing of best practices. Hey, what do you do if this happens? Hey, we had this, what do you do? There's none of that going on. And so right now I'm trying to tear down walls and build bridges to make sure that we are having those conversations about things that are in common in all of these programs. And so that's my number one goal, is to get people to talking. And so I think that's going to be very important. I also think that how we utilize the spaces once we get to Orchard Ridge is going to be huge. So we want to collaborate now, but we also want to collaborate in those spaces. But not only do we want to do interdepartmental collaboration, we want to do collaboration with counselors. We want to collaborate with our culinary partners. What can we do to bring healthy eating styles into our curriculum? What are some things that we can do across the college to make it make sense and to reach across the aisle, so to speak, to make sure that we're having those conversations? Because right now it is all very closed off and there's just no, really no plan to even reach across the aisle and say, hey, I know that you're doing this, can you give me a hand? And so that's really my goal, is to make sure that we're talking, we're collaborating, and not only with each other, but in the community. There's lots of outreach that needs to happen. I see the great things that Bev is doing and Dr. Hearn with the, I think it's DC3C. That is going to be fantastic. That's a game changer. This Lucy and Advise that they're bringing on to kind of early alert our students. All of these things are going to be huge into student retention, because basically in the healthcare programs, the hospitals want students to hire. And if we can't get them through to completion, they've got nobody to hire. So we're all fighting the same battle. We just need to get the boat rowing in the same direction. So we're doing it together and not somebody's rowing this way and somebody's rowing that way. So really that's my goal. And this didn't get broken overnight. It's not going to get fixed overnight, but I do plan to collaborate with all of you as much as possible, because that's the only way that we're going to get there. I don't have all of the answers, and I don't want to do it alone. That's why we're all here in this room, is to share these best practices and ideas and future visions about the way it looks moving forward. So thank you for your time today. I'm sorry if I took too long.
Oh my
We
God.
introduced Zanette, please. She's on Zoom. So Zanette, can I ask you to unmute and just
Yes.
say
Hi, good
hello and
morning.
tell us who you are?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Zanette Patton, Associate Dean of Nursing and Health Professions, and thank you all for inviting me and having me here today. I would like to say a special thank you to counseling for all that you do to support our health programs, attending our information sessions, and making sure that our students are on track with the requirements and meeting those requirements to the best of your ability. Making sure that you support us in our guidelines that we have for our programs. And then even after completion of our programs, making sure that our students complete the applications that they need to complete for graduation and at the end of the program. So we are so very grateful for you. We thank you so much for working with us, and we look forward to continuing to work with you all. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Zanette. Our next speaker is the new Diagnostic Medical Sonographer Director of Sonography, Kara Argo. And I'm going to pull up your PowerPoint so you can introduce. Oh, you want to? I'm just trying to get my email. Sorry. You think you want to put your zip drive in? Would that be faster? Oh, am I ready? Oh, sorry. So sorry. I should have done this much sooner.
So don't everybody stare at us, because it'll take longer.
Pressure. Now you're gonna see all my emails. Oh my.
No, it's not showing.
Oh, okay. Maybe you're not gonna see all my emails.
I can read them.
Go for it. Bev yelling at me.
Sure.
Oh, come on. A lot of email from math faculty. Oh. Okay.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate being invited to address you this morning. Like Dr. McFadden, I have only been here 2 months as well. So I am still in the learning process of how our program has run for probably the past 40 years. Ultrasound certainly has been a very successful program here at OCC. And I'm really excited to move forward with the program. Hello again. So I do have a few PowerPoints just to, I'm going to go through them rather quickly. If you want a copy of any of the information, I'm sure we can get that to you afterwards. So yeah, go ahead. Next slide, please.
Hold on, sorry.
I'm used to having my own.
It's auto tracking and we're trying to figure out the, we're good? Is that good?
There we go.
My information, and again, I can get that to you if you don't have that. We're gonna go through this pretty quickly, so whoever's on.
Next.
I just wanted to give a big thank you to Christina, who's been, as we say, she's my new best friend in council. And it's been great because I did come on, there's so much you have to learn right away. And Christina now is part of my info sessions, which is wonderful so that I'm not a counselor and that's her specialty. So the two of us moving forward, I think we really have a good info session that we have currently. As you may all know, our program is what we call a general ultrasound program. It's the adult abdomen plus OBGYN. So it encompasses all these areas that you do see listed here. There are other boards you can take an ultrasound, but with the program only being 18 months in length, we're exposing our students, but they're not probably ready to take those boards, such as in vascular technology or the breast, or there's others. I know all of you know this if you've been counseling for a while. The only thing I'd like to just point out, I have just finished 38 record reviews in the last 2 weeks. I'm a little exhausted, but I did learn some valuable things. And my goal today is to try to streamline the process both for you and for myself. The one thing that I'm finding is, and it sounds, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's easier if you direct the ultrasound students to the Southfield campus. There's quite a few criteria that may be a little different. I am noticing some transcripts are a little bit more incomplete than others. And so if you feel that you'd like to kind of pass those on, Christina and the whole staff here are used to doing that. I'm just gonna, Christina, do you have anything to add to that from what I?
Oh, no, I mean, if you wanna ask me or shoot it my way or whatever, feel free. I definitely don't mind, but I also do encourage everyone, if you ever get a chance, to sit in on one of the info sessions, because the information is so detailed and there's such a small amount of students that actually get in. And so any student that is a potential DMS candidate, I always say, please do the info session first before you make any changes, because you will know immediately if you wanna do it or not after that info session, so.
Carrie, I'm all set. I won't review prerequisites. That's your specialty and not mine. Let's just keep going. The next one is also prerequisites. If you do have questions, please address them my way. The next one, please. Again, you're all experts on the HESI exam. The only difference that I am hearing about the ultrasound students is that they are allowed to take it a third time. And I think that originated because there were some students that went to school 15 years ago and took it twice, didn't pass, and they're like, well, is that fair? 15 years ago, I was a totally different person. So I don't know how it changed and who changed it. I just know that they're allowing them to do that. Okay. Again, nothing that you probably don't know. The important dates that I wanted to point out are if it's a transfer student, we're asking them to get their records, everything to you so you can get it to us by November 1st, by the end of the year. It obviously takes a little time to get those transfer conferences going as need be. And then I believe the registrar, it also takes a little bit of time for them to process that. If they're not transfer students, we're looking at December 15th, just kind of that arbitrary second week in December when OCC technically closes for that semester. And again, some of these will be in the notes. I think we're pretty typical. We graduate our classes in March. So actually, we're a little earlier than some of the other LA Health programs. So we are reaching out to them in February and saying, you can come in, you can schedule your record review. In March, we're actually doing those reviews. And then in April, Dr. McFadden and I and some others will sit down and choose the next class. And I'll talk about the numbers in just a moment. This, again, I think you all are aware of for ultrasound has always been, I shouldn't say always, but in the past 15, 20 years, the B in all the required prerequisite courses. And anything lower than a B minus, they will need to repeat that course to be able to apply to ultrasound. Now, we do a recalculated GPA. And in a moment, I'll show you which courses if you're not familiar. So our criteria in a nutshell, after I've just reviewed these last record reviews, are these three. It's a recalculated GPA, which is more heavily weighted than the others. If a student has had to repeat a class because they had a B minus or lower, they are given a deduction, and it's a point system. And then volunteer work. The last one has been a little bit more vague in past years. I'm pretty adamant that they get the proper type of volunteer work. And in the next slide, it'll be coming. Here's the recalculated courses. I think you're all maybe familiar with them, the 2A and P classes, MedTerm, Trigonometry, and English 2. I've been told that the successful students are those that do well in these classes. We didn't choose those currently. I think they've been in place for quite a while, but you probably know that better than I do. Okay. So what is acceptable volunteer work? Let me start by saying the goal is not to just have them observing. They will be observing, but we want to make sure that these students know what they're getting themselves into. Ultrasound appears glamorous on TV and with everybody who wants to know the sex of their fetus. But in reality, in the abdominal work especially, they're working in the operating rooms, they're working in emergency rooms. They need to be able to withstand trauma, blood, and all the other stuff that goes along with sick patients. So we want them really to be working in a situation where they're going to get that exposure. An emergency room volunteer is wonderful, working in a hospice center, assisted living. The things that I've encountered most recently is students will say, well, I'm a medical assistant and I check people in and did their vitals. Sonographers rarely do that. So that's not really effective, and I'm making them repeat those things. So reach out to me if you do encounter students that are questioning it, and I'll be happy to guide them and even tell them where to go to get that kind of care. Oh, well, you can leave it on this. Yeah, thank you. One thing, in the past, it's been kind of vague. You can do 20 hours, we'll give you half a point to do the work. Do 40 hours and you get a point. I don't think this should be vague at all. And in fact, I'm making sure that they all do the 40 hours. We are so close and so competitive with these top candidates. If they do the half of the 20 hours, they're out of the program. So I don't want to waste anybody's time. Just do the 40 hours. It's just a week's worth of work, or 2 weeks, 8 days of half days. So it's really not a big commitment for them, I don't think. Our point system, as I've mentioned, GPA, the deduction, and then the volunteer hours. We are very competitive. I'll have reviewed records with 39 students. We will be taking probably 8 for sure, and I'm hoping to take 10. So as you can see, 10% are not going to get in. Part of my job, I felt like during the record reviews, was to come up with a plan B for those students that I'm looking at their grades, and if they have all Bs, they're not going to get in. All of our 7 of the top 8 candidates all have straight A's, and that's weighted more heavily. So B students, even someone with an A minus, I have 8 people in those next spots that maybe 1 or 2 will get in with 1 A minus. So that's sort of how we've evolved with ultrasound. And again, just so you realize, it's not because we don't want to take more. We would love to get back up to the 15, maybe even 20 in the next couple of years. It's based on our clinical sites primarily. It's a one-to-one training. And if we don't have those sites, we certainly are not going to take students on and risk them not getting the right kind of education. And I'm wrapping up real quick here. So just so you know, we have some parameters in place that if these students are tying, I mentioned I have 7 right now that have perfect scores. I have another group of 7 behind them that are all tied. How do we break that? These are what has been established in the past. The day they decided ultrasound was for them, or they declared, the date they finish their prereqs. And in the case that it's not decided before them, then it's how many classes they took at OCC. Okay.
Sorry.
And then I know a lot of you have, I've heard questions about what can the technical name is sonographers. What can they do? There's so many wonderful things they can do. As I like to say, there's a sonographer in every one of these pictures. You're kind of your general sonographer. You can go into commercial, sales, applications, research and development, surgeries, procedures. That sonographer is usually guiding those. So it's a really neat place to be if you like that kind of atmosphere. And the one on the far right is my new one, education. We can't get sonographers to come out and teach our students. So I want that to be a big push. Get into education, publishing, research. I've written several books and I've done a lot of research in my field, but sonographers aren't always directed that way. And again, that's one of my goals I hope I can help them with. And then I think this next one is how much do they make and what does it take to become a sonographer? We're called registered diagnostic medical sonographers. Our students here will take 3 registries or 3 board exams. They'll take the physics first. Actually, that's changed a little bit, but for all practical purposes, it's always been you had to pass the physics exam before you could take any other specialty exams, which here would be OBGYN and abdomen. We prepare them. There's so much review time that I don't think there's ever been a graduate that hasn't passed that physics portion. Our current class, we just graduated 14, all of them except one also passed their OBGYN and their abdomen. So they are getting that education. Again, we're all a little different if how much studying they put into it. You really do have to study, but you know, we're here to coach them. Again, you can see the hourly wage. That was from 2021. It's probably a bit higher now. And certainly with the more experience you have, more of a leadership role, most of those salaries are in someone with a lot of experience are close to 90, 100,000, sometimes less depending on if you're in an urban area or perhaps a rural area. Okay. That's all I have. Yes.
Do they take those exams here, or is that part of the state, or?
They, I believe they take them just like wherever you take any other standardized exam. They actually sign up for themselves. I mean, the program will say, okay, these 7 are eligible. So, and do you all know, since I'm so new, I don't know if I know physically where they're going. Just a regular testing site, right?
The NTech testing center, I would assume.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Where
Are
do
they taking their boards?
Their boards.
Oh, that is a good question. I don't have an answer to.
It's typically
So, but that's-
H&R Block.
H&R Block?
But we'll find the answer. We'll
Oh,
find
that's
the answer.
interesting.
So that's
I can
unrelated,
say-
so I guess the exam would be way
Right.
before that.
Right.
Oh,
I
Oh,
can
has to
add-
get it.
But once
has
they're
to
ready
use
to
before they
graduate.
can apply.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
Pam
real
has an answer.
quick, I
Oh,
know
yeah,
things
whatever you
like
want. There you
the
go.
NCLEX and some of the professional exams, you actually have to register through the state of Michigan.
Right.
And those are at various Pearson sites and whatnot. So I don't know if that applies to DMS, but just to kind of reflect, that is how it happens with NCLEX and some of the nursing.
Yes, sir.
Is there a next step for DMS?
After they've gone through the program?
Yes, is there a bachelor's or a
Well,
certificate?
thankfully, now we're seeing more programs that you can go on and get your bachelor's, your master's, and there are a few in the country with PhDs. Ultrasound's a new field, so we are just playing catch up with the rest of the fields out there, like nursing per se. There are a couple colleges locally, I think Madonna University, Siena Heights, is that what I'm saying? I'm new to this part of Michigan. Grand Valley State has a bachelor's degree program where I used to teach out of that program. I think sonographers are in a unique position because if it were me, I'd be in there bartering saying, I have my bachelor's, please convert this to a master's for me. I mean, you know, I think you can be a little creative with this. So nothing totally established other than what I'm saying. Yes.
But do the jobs pay more if you have a bachelor's?
No, Okay.
Oh,
I remember that message.
Not really. I think you'll find that most hospitals or practices are gonna say, you've been in this 20 years. Okay, we're gonna give you some more money.
Okay.
But it's not quite to that point. And to address your question, there is something called an advanced practice sonographer. And I don't think a lot of people in this area have heard about it, but it's someone that already has been through ultrasound school and they want to act more like, say, a PA. You can go learn how to do more procedure-related things. They'll give you more liberty to talk to patients. It's not well developed though, and that is through our organizations. But I do suggest anybody that's been in it a while, you might as well go get it. It's more letters. I don't know that you'll get more money, but again, you have to negotiate. Sonographers are not very good at negotiating salary. You know, it's because it's such a new field, you kind of have to go in there and say, look, I've done all this. I can produce for you. Sonographers make money, you know, for doing procedures. So, yes.
last question.
When you talked about the people you had 4.0 GPA, was that referring to those 5 classes?
Yes.
I hate to cut it short. We do have to move to our next presenter, our faculty, so thank you so much.
Please reach
Kara.
out and we'll get you some information.
If you have questions, please jot them down, send them our way, whether it's Kara's or mine or Christina's way. Just because we don't want to lose those questions either. So Zoomers as well. Just so you're aware, Christina Dedvicai is monitoring the chat for any questions and answers.
And I'll be here through the lunchtime, so please reach out.
Are you sending out? Yeah, we'd like a
Can you send
PowerPoint.
out a PowerPoint to your
Absolutely,
applicants?
absolutely.
Is it for counselors' eyes only, not for the students?
Oh, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that sounded weird, but I have other ones for them.
Can we share the information in the PowerPoint, like about those 5 classes, how that's, okay, so all
Yeah,
that.
they're standard. It's what I reveal in the info session.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're familiar with
Lost the
that.
sound. Sorry about that. Next, I would like to introduce Kelly Marks. She's a Zoomer today. She's our mental health social work faculty member. She's going to be sharing her information about social work program and the new addiction studies certificate that we are all very excited about. So you have that in yellow. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, and thank you guys for, again, allowing me to speak here and talk about the mental health program here at OCC and some of the upcoming changes that are going to take place starting fall of 2023. Again, this is my second year here at OCC, so one of the first things I was charged with was kind of looking at the program and trying to do some changes or what needed to change. So currently we've done an informal survey of our current students that we have right now, which is about 220. About 50% or more want to transfer to a BSW program. 20% of them still want to do psych. We have some early ed, but many of them are really undecided. And many of them actually want to go on and do a advanced degree. So your master's either in clinical psych or social work. And then we have some who actually want to go all the way to a psych D. Currently, the MHA courses, again, they provide a foundation, so they needed to be updated to align with the CSWE. So for those of you who do not know, the CSWE is the Council for Social Work Education. They are the accrediting body for all the BSW and MSW programs here in the state of Michigan. So they kind of decide what needs to be done. They have these educational policies. They're currently on 2022, I believe. But when I came on board, we were still on 2015. So there's these 9 competencies that they want students to have mastered by the time they finish their degree. So one of the things I looked at in the program was looking at our common course outcomes, what we were actually teaching, and see how they aligned or didn't align with the CSWE guidelines. So we've done some updated course outcomes, and the theory behind this would be that more of our OCC courses would actually be transferable to our partner schools. So this summer we are working on updating all of our articulation agreements. We've done some updating already, and we've got a couple more classes that are going to transfer over to like OU and to Wayne State. So we are already seeing some of the benefits of redesigning the course outcomes and aligning them more with the CSWE guidelines. So some things that actually changed, we did change the description. Again, required coursework is designed to help students develop an understanding of human and social systems, ethics and values that guide human service practitioners with an emphasis on social work. So we really didn't want to exclude anyone who wasn't necessarily interested in the field of social work, but again, are interested in psychology or any other human service or helping profession. Again, we have a statement in there about students interested in the behavioral health. They're eligible and encouraged to take courses within this program as electives. Many of them know that the theories in social work are actually grounded in psychology. So these are foundational skills and information that they actually need when they go to their BA, even if they do a BA in psychology or sociology as they move forward. We have required a 2.0. It used to be, I think, a C-, so we want to see, and this is really just aligned in most of the transferring schools and working with our partners. Again, they don't transfer C-. And again, when you talk about their core courses, especially like in biology and political science and sociology, they want to see a C or better. So we did that for our program major courses. And then, of course, we had to add the statement about a criminal background check. So for many of you who aren't familiar with the field of social work, we do have a lot of students who want to enter this field primarily because, you know, they have experienced something in the past, and this could be criminally related. So we wanted them to know that, again, criminal background checks are typically going to be done at the internship level. So when we have internships, we have our partners, they're going to perform the background check. And while we put the statement in there that while some students have a criminal conviction, it does not mean they're not going to be able to participate, but we wanted to be more transparent and upfront because there are some convictions in the state of Michigan that students cannot be licensed as a social worker for. Typically, again, these are going to be your violent offenses. But again, we just wanted to be more upfront. We've looked at some of the surrounding community colleges, and they all have statements about criminal justice on their, on the criminal background check on their site about their programs. And again, just kind of being more aligned with our transfer partners. They all talk about the criminal background process before students get to the internship part of the program. Before I move on, any questions about this? As I know I'm kind of going fast to kind of make up time. No. Okay. Some other things that changes our support courses. We are requiring intro to sociology, which isn't new, and psych, the English comp, those are all the same. Psychology, we're doing human development across the lifespan. We added the 2 diversity courses because, again, when we look at the transferring institutions, again, many of them want cultural humility or some type of cultural competence for our students. So we added the sociology of diversity and racial and ethnic group relationships. Even though we are teaching all of our programs or all of our courses from a cultural humility stance, and we include that in terms of our interventions and theoretical models, again, we wanted them to have a good foundation of diversity and racial and ethnic relations. So we saw those courses as something as a benefit and enhancing the students' overall cultural humility, so to speak. We are requiring the American government because, again, all social work programs require American government in order for them to take their policy and research. Again, this is just helping them take the classes here at OCC and really just be prepared to go into their social work program once they transfer to the 4-year. And of course, we're having bio. That should just be, I think, the 1511, not the 1500. So that's a mistake on my part, but I think it's just the 1511, and because all social work programs require human behavior, and human behavior, they have to have a bio as a prerequisite to take the human behavior courses. So again, wanting them to be as prepared as possible when they transfer over to their 4-year and not having to take additional courses in gen eds before they can actually start their social work program. The major course requirements, we added MHS 2000, which is Intro to Social Work and Human Services. When students transfer to a social work program, they have to actually apply not only to the institution, but also to the School of Social Work. This is a CSWE requirement. And typically they have to have Intro to Social Work in order to be fully admitted into the social work program. This again allows our students to be better prepared and again, just get that fully admit as opposed to being conditionally admit to a social work program. Again, it also allows them to take it here at OCC, saving them some time. We added the MHS 2010, which is Ethics and Values in Mental Health. This was suggested to us by McBeth, which is the licensing for the addiction studies. And again, they wanted to see an ethics and values course, so we added that. We have MHS 2100, which was formerly MHA 2100, Interviewing and Counseling. Here we took out the word counseling. My first year, again, understanding that we're not teaching students how to be counselors, because again, that's not something they can do with an associate degree. And I think that had some confusion with some of our students. They thought, again, they should have the skills to go out and do cognitive behavior therapy. They should be able to do desensitization skills, things of that nature. So again, we wanted to make sure that they understood that we're preparing them for generalist work, again, casework skills, assessment, and how to do interviewing. So that's why we changed the name of the course. And of course, with the course outcomes, this has a prerequisite of intro to social work. We have MHS 2300, which is interpersonal theory and practice. Again, the prereq here is the ethics and values course. MHS 2400, which is group dynamics and social work and mental health practice. Again, this is formerly 2400 group dynamics theory and practice. Sorry for the typo. Again, just understanding that group dynamics not just is in social work, but again, if we have students who are going into addictions, it's the mental health practice. They're going to do some group work. So again, they need this skill, this foundation. We have 2500, again, stayed the same, family systems theory and practice. And then we have the MHS 2600 mental health and social work internship. As of right now, the internship is not required. Students can either take foundations of alcohol and substance abuse, or they can take the internship, which again are two totally different things. One is again an addictions type of class, and the other one is really actually getting some experience. And again, understanding that some of our students are coming to us without any experience in the human service. So again, this is an opportunity for them to develop mentorships, get some real life experience, and really kind of understand where they might want to go within the field. So again, as you notice, some of the prerequisites, typically the prerequisites for the program have been psych classes. So they needed to have 3 psychologies. We did the prerequisites this way, primarily to help start a cohort model for this particular program. We know we're not going to see a cohort model really develop probably for the next 2, maybe even 3 academic years, because it's going to take some time. But again, this is, we know research wise, again, cohorts tend to have better retention rates. So this is why we took out the psych prerequisites and just went with the MHS to kind of lockstep them more. One thing I've noticed in my first year, students aren't taking them in any particular order. These courses are actually designed to build on each other. So again, they're learning basic skills in each class. And again, in each class, again, we're trying to scaffold them so they are learning a more higher skill in each one of these level courses. So we want to give them the basic foundations. It's a little frustrating to have a student in, family systems class and they've never taken any of the theory classes, because again, these all kind of build off of each other. Again, what's new? So the addiction study certificate is new. It's designed to provide students with required knowledge and skills needed to pursue employment in the field of substance abuse, addiction, as well as obtain the certified addiction and drug counselor license for the state of Michigan. We have a statement in there, of course, this is in the description, that these courses only meet the 300 educational hours. So students still have to obtain credentialing from the Michigan Council of Addictions, and they also have to complete their 6,000 practice and clinical hours working for a substance use disorder. So at a program licensed by the state of Michigan. So all this does is really help them get the educational requirement out the way, but they still have to work to get the actual practical hours that they need. This is a standalone certificate, so it can be done with any of our criminal justice or nursing or any other program who wants the addiction certificate. Students can actually, again, just come for the addiction certificate if they just want to take the certificate. The course requirements here, we have Intro to Addictions, which is formerly the Fundamentals of Alcohol and Substance Use. So again, this is just going to be overall intro to all addictions, not just the focus on alcohol and substance use. And then we did 1510 Assessment, Intervention, and Treatment Planning in Addiction. We have the Ethics and Values of Mental Health Practice. They're going to take the 2300 Interpersonal Theory and Practice course, the 1520 Co-occurring Disorders, which is a new course. diversity and addiction, which is a new course, and then they will take 2400 group dynamics and social work and mental health practice. So these course requirements will give them the 300 hours that they need to meet the requirements for to continue on to do their 6,000 hours of work at a licensed state of Michigan facility. Who does this impact? So again, new students starting in the fall of 2023 are going to be on the new plan. Returning students who may not previously attended OCC but haven't enrolled in 3 or more years. So again, these are the individuals that it's going to impact. Students have already been, who are currently enrolled. Again, we've had several meetings with them to get them to understand that, you know, they're not going to be required to take any of the new courses. They're still going to be on their same program plan. So we have started having those conversations with students, but again, it's going to impact students that are starting in the fall, and those students have not taken any MHA classes in the last 3 academic cycles. The future, the plan is to offer all of our MHA courses online. Again, our little informal survey told us that 57% of our students want online classes. We have a target date of winter 2025. Again, Sean and I will be working during the summer to try to figure this out. We are starting to offer more classes in an online environment, but we're trying to do it in a very intentional way and try to do it slowly so we can see what works and what doesn't work. Again, we don't want to just do something for the sake of doing something. Again, we want this to be intentional. We hoped at some point to start creating some rotating special topics courses like interpersonal violence or aging, crisis intervention, child welfare, or mental health in school settings. So again, those are some things on the horizon. And again, for the job outlook, as many of you have heard, again, governments are putting between the state, local, federal, they're putting a lot of money into mental health. So again, they can do entry-level substance abuse, peer counselors, they can do youth advocate or youth worker. They can even get into government employment as an assistant payment worker or departmental technician. And of course, they can do case management. This is all things they can do with their associate's degree. And again, beyond, like I said, there has a really good job outlook for the mental health field. So again, just some information, it's social workers projected to grow 9%. So the whole mental health field is expected to grow. So that's it in a nutshell. And I know I zoomed through this. Any questions about anything?
Yes, there are. Kelly, can you respond? So the 2,600, which is the internship, is that going to be required for the new program?
It is going to be required for the new program, yes. As of right now, it's going to be required. We actually just met with our advisory board over the past week or last week, and there may be some tweaks to it moving forward. And again, I just have to see what OCC's rules are in terms of offering classes, because one of the things they suggested and one thing that they do for their for some of their students for the service learning portion, if they come in with job experience and job readiness, can we go ahead and just count that towards, give them a life credit for that particular course? So that's something I need to find out the rules and the policies on, but if that's a possibility, again, I don't want students to take things and they've already had an experience or they work in the field already. So try not to do less harm, not more harm, I guess is the response there. Does that answer the question?
Any other questions from rumors? Yes, Patty.
Well, I'm just wondering, when you're doing interviewing skills or some of these other personal skills, are these going to be strictly asynchronous online classes? Will they be remote? Will there still be the opportunity to have personal in-face contact with people? Because that's sort of what you think of social workers.
So that's our struggle with the interviewing class. As of right now, yes, we plan on doing it online and of course a face-to-face, because while there are students who want online option, there are just as many students who still want a face-to-face option. And again, having talked to some of our partners, the social work programs, again, practice skills, all these things are going in an online environment. They are being asynchronous. Again, in our little survey that we did, it was an informal survey. Synchronous was the least option students wanted. They preferred either asynchronous, face-to-face, hybrid, or, don't give me synchronous at all. So that was kind of where they stood. We are looking at what this can look like in an online environment. Is there any technology we can use? Currently this year, what we ended up doing is students would get in groups and they recorded themselves via Zoom. We also have recording equipment in D building in our classroom where students can actually use that to record themselves. And then we uploaded it to the D2L, and we were able to have students comment on that. So again, if we can find a way to intentionally flip that in an online environment, and I know it's going to be difficult, so that's why it's kind of, my target date is so far off, because it's not something I want to do and just do it for the sake of doing it. I still want it to where students are really learning these soft skills, and they're doing a good job of learning these soft skills, and they have the technology to do it and the skills to do it. So I hope that answers your question, because it's the same thing with our groups class. It's very personal, or it's very group oriented. Again, one of their big assignments, they have to actually perform or run a group session, and what a group session would look like. So how do you do that in an online asynchronous environment? So there's some things that we have to really think about, and how do we do it to ensure that they're still getting the skills that they need to move on to the 4-year, because about 80% of our students definitely want a 4-year degree. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Kelly, I had put in the chat, this is Chris Evans. You had talked about maybe working with someone who had work experience or something related. One of the initiatives for credit for prior learning is students being able to submit a portfolio of work that would be assessed by probably you or Shauna or both of you, and you could determine if they get credit for that. So that experience might fit really well with the portfolio option. We haven't dived into that yet. I'm going to be talking more about credit for prior learning in the afternoon, but what you're talking about really sounds like a good class that maybe we could pilot, setting up some guidelines and whatnot for. So I'd be excited to have this discussion offline with the both of you.
Okay, great.
Okay, we have one last question, I think in the back. Susan?
So based on all of the advantages of the new program, should we be encouraging students who are currently enrolled in an older catalog to move to this new catalog?
So what I've been telling current students is, number one, if they're transferring, check with their transferring institution to first make sure that if they take the class here, that they're going to actually give them credit for it there. And right now, the only class of the new program that we're going to be running early is in the summer. We're running MHS 2000, which is the intro class, because we know we have some students transferring over. I've encouraged them, of course, like I said, once we get all the articulations, and actually we already have OU's done. I think Wayne State's is done. I believe Eastern's is also done. So once we have those, on file and completed, I wouldn't not encourage it. But again, at the same time, it's really up to the student, like, hey, if I'm going to get credit for this, at Eastern, why not take it here? So, I mean, that's kind of the whole point, having them, be able to take more classes here with us, save them time, save them money, and have them where when they get to Eastern or they go to OU, they're not spending as much money. And again, that's really the key, or at least my key and my purpose for some of the changes. I'm still trying to encourage them to give us more credits, because I think there's nothing in CSWE guidelines that say, that limits how many credits they give us, but some of it is just they feel like they can teach things better than we can. So, so I'm dealing with that.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Appreciate it. Shauna was with you, right?
Yes, Shauna's here.
Did Shauna introduce herself? I just want to
She
make
did
sure.
not, and I didn't even bother. I'm so sorry.
Yes, I did.
Just real quick, if you can introduce yourself, Shauna, please.
Such a
I
bad
did,
person.
but I'll introduce myself again. I'm Shauna Boomgard. I'm over at Orchard Ridge, and I will be at Auburn Hills this summer. So
You're
I'm
part of
teaching both.
your faculty at,
Yes.
for social work. So just
Yep.
so you're aware that you put, names to faces and all
Yep,
that.
I'll put it in the chat too.
Thank you. Okay, I know we're running late and time. I think, see, this is what we get for introducing ourselves, right? At the time, it's throwing us all off. One last thing. Kelly did equate all her current courses to the new courses. So if you are working with a student who is following the older prior program, those courses are equated. So you can
MHS,
run.
not MHA.
I'm sorry,
MHS, not MHA.
but they are equated to
Yes,
those
but the
courses.
students may be looking for MHA.
Oh, that's true. That's a big one. So you gotta make sure you tell difference. Okay. Tiffany has been waiting patiently. Thank you so much, Tiffany. She's on Zoom. She's our early childhood education program faculty. And so we all have our information, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Kelly and Shauna.
First, I want to thank you guys for having me here today, and I'm going to take the opportunity to introduce my new partner, Katie. She's on as well. Katie has joined the early childhood full-time faculty as of last semester, and first time in history we've had 2 folks in ECE, so that's kind of exciting. So I just wanted to let you guys know that she's here as another resource for us. All right, so we have experienced some changes over the last semester, some new things that are happening that we wanted to share with you. First, let me start with our job outlook. Early childhood is booming. There is many more jobs than there's people in early childhood, which is a whole nother issue. And one thing that the health crisis showed us is that we can't replace early childhood with computers or Zoom. So the job outlook is much stronger than many other fields. This was done a year or so ago, and I think it's even grown more. One of our issues is, though, that while the job market is growing, we want to make sure the quality grows with it. And that's where the education piece comes in. So we're looking at many more jobs opening, and we need to get people quality trained to be in those jobs. Oakland County itself is at a major deficit in terms of needs for early childhood professionals. And it's growing even more because you might be hearing that we are looking at Michigan becoming a universal preschool state. So right now we offer state preschool for children who are at poverty or a little above poverty. And the goal of this state administration is to offer preschool for all 4-year-olds. This is not unlike many states. There's, I think, only currently about 50% of states left that do not offer full-time preschool for their children in their public school system for all children, regardless of income. We know from the research that this has a definite effect on children's intellectual and social development and gives them a step ahead in school achievement. So with that, we have to look at, do we have the workforce to support that? It doesn't appear that they plan on just extending the early childhood into the K-12 system in terms of funding. So it's going to be a little unique in how they do that. So they're going to be really looking at having teachers who are prepared to teach at that level with specialized skills and maybe different educational backgrounds. This too has caused some discussion on the political side on, what will we require of our students? Of our teachers. Will it be bachelor's degree? Will it be associate degrees? Will it be certificates? So we at OCC want to be prepared so that our students can fill the job markets and be able to move on to whichever level they find appropriate. Last semester, we introduced 4 certificates. So these 4 certificates are smaller. They're geared for those students that are coming in who are looking to just get some training, which is an immediate need for jobs right now. And they don't plan on taking all the rest of the courses. we have always served this population, but what's happening is they leave with nothing. Some of them go on to get CDAs, and the CDA doesn't come through a college. The CDA comes through the Council of Professional Recognition, and it's a combination of work experience, training, and a test and a submission of a portfolio. So some of our folks come to us with the intention of just getting the training for CDA, but they were still leaving us without anything. And sometimes they got a CDA, sometimes they didn't. So after lots of discussion on many different levels, one, in that we know that students are motivated when they see that they're meeting milestones. Two, we have to address the fact that our students are leaving without anything. So it looks like, we have a huge dropout rate and our completion levels are really low. And three, what about that student who just wants to prepare themselves for that and, that job going in? So we created these 4 different certificates. They align up with the CDA training. So it's nice because if they're getting a CDA in infant toddler, they know they can take the infant toddler lead teacher. If they're getting a CDA in preschool, they know they can do that. If they're getting the Michigan Y DA, they can take the school age program. And then we have a lot of students that actually come to us with bachelor's degrees or 60 credits that for licensing, they need to obtain 18 credits in order to be our early childhood administrator or director. So we've packaged that so they have a certificate. Yesterday was a really exciting day for me because we had several students who received their certificate, bring them to class. Both me and Katie experienced this, and they were so proud. Now, these are students that are getting our associate degree, but knowing that they had earned other certificates along the way, they were so proud that they wanted to bring them in, and they're taking them to their work sites and they're using them to encourage others. So we're hoping that with these certificates, it'll build on their sense of accomplishment, and then they'll go further. They'll get their associates, and then they'll go get their bachelor's. And, we see our students even going further, masters and beyond. All of these certificates are built into our program. So if they get a certificate, they're already completing part of the associates. So they're not losing any momentum into the associate degree. These are all required courses, so there's nothing lost, but lots gained. So these went into effect in fall. As students come in to counseling, if they're interested in this, I do have one caveat that is very important, and is these are covered under financial aid if they're working towards their associate degree. Teach Scholarship, which is our scholarship for early childhood professionals who are working in the field, will cover these as well if they're working on their associate degree. So this is something that they can apply for as they are working on their associate degree, but we wouldn't want them to just declare this as their only desire, if that makes sense. As you all know, Highland Lakes is moving. We've had discussions with administration and our dean about where will ECE land. What's interesting is ECE could probably land anywhere and we would be fine, but we really wanted to make sure we were student driven and that we were very systematic and intentional about where we go. We realize that our population is almost 50-50 between North and South. North including Highland Lakes and Auburn Hills, and then South including Orchard Ridge, Southfield, and Royal Oak. It probably would be more of a level playing field if we weren't for the fact that we're in Highland Lakes, because obviously most of our students come from like the Waterford area. we don't see that that's going to change much. Maybe with a move, we might pull more from the south. We're seeing more and more people coming from Detroit, Southfield, Hazel Park area. So in looking at what works best for our students, we did some reflecting on who our students are and what types of programs that they're interested in. And we find that more of our traditional students are right out of high school students, typically are coming from like the Waterford, Auburn Hills area, Pontiac area. And our working students, and this was more of anecdotal evidence that we took from our class, come from the South population. We've always offered classes both morning and night. And even though we don't have defined cohorts, they follow cohorts. If they go at night, they go at night. Our daytime students might do a little of both, but for the most part, our night students pretty much stay night because they're usually working all day long. Most of our students, I would say 90+% of our students work full time. So as we consider, where our students are, who they are, and some future population partnerships, we've decided that we would want to serve both populations. So we are going to look towards moving Highland Lakes campus, like our home campus, to Orchard Ridge, and offering our night classes at Orchard Ridge and our daytime classes at Auburn Hills. Katie and I feel that it's best for our department to remain together and not split. So we're going to make our home, so to speak, at Orchard Ridge. But because the way we like to teach is we like to teach based on our experience and expertise, we don't want one faculty member covering Auburn Hills and one faculty member covering Orchard Ridge. We both will go to classes based on our experience and expertise that we can bring to the students. Now, just like other programs, our biggest desire right now is online. We know that students in our program, because they're working full time, they want to go online. So we intend to make it possible in the next 1 to 2 years that the students will be able to complete everything online. I've actually had a different experience than mental health. The classes that I was really concerned with putting online, that I put as synchronized online, they're doing well. In fact, I see higher attendance and higher participation and higher grades. I think because they can do it from home, but yet they still have the contact with their peers, like the facial, through Zoom, and the interactions. Those ones that were hesitant to try online are feeling more comfortable. And that's, anecdotal from the students, their feedback. We do feel that some of our courses are not geared for 100% asynchronized online. We need that personal interaction with students just so we can, help to gauge affect and everything as they, work with each other. So our goal is to have 3 type cohort models that they can follow, one being a daytime, one being an evening, and one being completely online. We plan that most of our second year classes, whether they're in the daytime or evening classes, until we grow where we can offer, enough to run 3 sections of our second year classes, would be offered more on an online format. So that is our plans, and our plan to move time-wise has kind of changed. A couple of weeks ago or a month or so ago, we were going to move next year. And they said, let's do it. We started talking to our students. We said, let's just go ahead and do it. We changed our schedule before schedules were due. And then we understood that there's a lot more to the dynamics of moving than just changing the codes on a schedule. in terms of like spacing and everything. So we've slowed down the process and we will move as it's appropriate. Probably looking at 24, but definitely as you know, the campuses show us that they're ready for us to be there and Highland Lakes transitions. One thing that also is really important to mention is we are in midst of preparing for this community need for early childhood professionals. So we're looking at several partnerships. We have proposed to partner with high schools and possibly doing like a early college experience for early childhood where students would get those early level classes during their high school years. So they're coming out with the training that they needed for like CDAs or the certificates. We have lots of high schools that are very interested in that. Right now, we've been kind of told that the college wants to present a marketing plan to high schools together with several programs together. So we've kind of just are waiting for when the college is ready to approach the schools, but we have several high schools that have expressed an interest, that they know their community needs this and they know that their students are interested in it. And really we see it as maybe one of our only options to tap into a new workforce that is looking towards early childhood. Oakland Schools has turned to us to help them get some of their teachers through their training with the state funded schools. It is required that the teachers have certain levels of academic achievement. So right now, because of the shortage, everyone is allowed to hire preschool teachers in the state funded classrooms and at the Head Start level with lower credentials on what they call compliance plans. So they have so long to complete their degrees. So Oakland Schools has asked us to work with their students on compliance plans to finish their associates. So we're trying to make it where their students have the easiest access to complete their schooling. Wayne Metro, which is one of the largest Head Start agencies, has also asked us to partnership in providing these certificate trainings for their staff. So we're looking at possibly doing a collaborative relationship with them where we would be offering special classes, the same classes, but special offerings for their partnerships in Wayne Metro area. And then Oakland University, we're working together. They have a new teaching certification because elementary and early childhood teaching certification in the state was revised. So now they have a birth through 3 certificate. So we'll be working with them on new transfer agreements, which may lead to us considering maybe restructuring our program to offer a different associate degree, more of a transfer degree that would lead to teaching certification through the state. More talks of that will be happening this year. This is new for our state, so it's definitely gonna have a trickle down effect on associate programs. Right now, our best option for our student and what we are having the largest transfer situations with is Rochester University. They have a completely online Bachelor's of Science. They have started offering in person through their McCone Center, but most of our students are attending their online. We are the largest community college that they serve. I would say at least 50% or more of my students are transferring over to Rochester. They work very well with the Teach Scholarship, so students can go there nearly for free and complete their bachelor's. They're also very transfer friendly. So all of our credits get transferred over. In fact, Rochester encourages students to take some extra courses beyond what is offered in our associate degree at the community college level, and they and transfer there over, so they don't have quite as many to do at Rochester. So I have students that are completing like 70 to 80 credits at OCC and then moving over to Rochester and finishing within a year or less, because it's an accelerated program. So there's other options. We have other articulation agreements, but the key is really knowing what our students want to do. You know, I spend a lot of time in the beginning of our semesters in our class talking to the students about where do they see themselves in 5 years. A lot of students look at early childhood, and because it is birth through grade 3, they think they're going to be able to teach first and second grade with just doing early childhood alone. And we have to help them understand that they need to get, you know, a Michigan teaching certification. Some of our students want to own early childhood centers. Some of them want to teach, but they want to teach at Head Starts and what is called Great Start Readiness Program, GSRP, which is the state funded programs. So we try to, as best we can, help to guide them through their academic journey so it meets their career goals. And we keep the career ladder in mind all the time as we're working with them and helping them to choose what direction to go. What we really need, and I know that there is some buzz about this, is to have counselors who really get the ECE career pathways. It is kind of confusing because ECE is, again, birth through grade 3. So understanding what a student needs is so important, because we tend to get students sometimes in the class that really don't know where they're going with ECE. They just know they like young children. So I think if we could do a more collaborative effort in working with counseling to understand the different career pathways, to understand how CDAs work. I mean, right now, just even having this discussion helps. But, you know, the more we can work together, the more students will likely complete their missions and their goals to get to the career path they want. Also, we want counselors to understand the TEACH Scholarship. We are the largest college recipient of TEACH. It's a wonderful scholarship, but it's different than the Teach for America scholarship. TEACH Scholarship is for students that are in early childhood and they must work in early childhood. I see a lot of my students that are coming in and they don't know the options that they have for free education. And so just, you know, getting counselors to kind of understand that those career pathways, understand the formal education options that go with those pathways, and understand the opportunities for scholarships would be helpful. And we want to know, how can we help you guys to help our students? And that's it for me.
Does anyone have any questions, whether the Zoomers or the Roomers? Any questions for Tiffany?
Great information.
Any questions on Zoom? Sorry. No? Okay, yeah, I would definitely be interested in working with you to make sure we understand the pathways, how you want them addressed with students, and definitely more about the TEACH Scholarship, because I'm certainly, if there's something concerning for you, I think we can have an additional conversation. Yeah.
And one thing I want to add is I would love, Chris, you know, we've talked by email, but to be a part of that discussion on hours, because one thing we've thought about is in 2 of our classes, they get field work, is pulling those hours separate and allowing students who work in the field to not have to complete that time. So that would be something we're interested in, the prior learning experience credit. And then, you know, really helping in terms of how we can help transition people who bring in a CDA into our program. That too is something that we want to help with. Lastly, I want to thank you guys for those that are already telling people who graduate, who are applying for graduate audits. Let's apply for those certificates because, I mean, I'm just being frank. If they're already got their associate degree and they're leaving now with five little certificates, you know, I mean, 4 little certificates plus their associates, you know what I mean? 5
Credentials.
5 credentials, right? Thank you. The pride they have is so wonderful. You should have seen it yesterday, and it was because of the counselors. They said, my counselor told me, why don't I apply for these? And they're so proud of them. But not only that, it's helping our numbers because it's showing completion. So, you know, whatever we can do to help make sure that we're all working towards the needs of the college and our community, the better. So I thank you guys for being that vehicle to let them know that these are out there, and please continue that.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Katie. Thank you so much. Appreciate your patience with the timeline here.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. Have a good one. Enjoy lunch.
Thank you.
And
It's time for
Tiffany,
lunch.
you're still on my agenda to call. I'm sorry, it's been kind of crazy.
Oh, no rush. I wasn't ready for your call anyhow. So
Zoomers, we're gonna put ourselves on mute. You enjoy your lunch at home and we're gonna enjoy lunch here. Thank you.
thanks. Bye-bye.
Irene, at 1 o'clock, where do we go? Follow 20 to 1. Follow people, so yeah, we're gonna have to make this quick.
So we have 4 different options of sandwiches. They're all written on the front, so just read the little.
Noreen, back at 1:15.
Noreen, back at 1:15, Pam said.
Oh, we've got that.
She just said that. Everybody come back. Yes, yes. No,
But 1 o'clock is.
yes, Zoomers, be back at 1:15, please. We have to go.
Oh, yeah. I love that. He's going back.
Angela,
I'm like, how did it go yesterday? I wanted to follow up with you.
well, you know, not very big.
Yeah, how many people?
Did one, and then I had the one who emailed you that showed, so I did it twice.
Okay.
I was gonna ask how those are going.
So where's the next one? Not a huge following yet, but it's okay.
So I will take the blame for that. Once I get to
Is that the state is,
Sorry.
that's okay. So the general idea is that the state of Michigan has a definition of remedial courses. And so far, Reconnect students cannot register them unless we pay a penalty if they do. So based on that definition from the state, Math 1050 is certainly remedial, and then even Math 1100 counts as remedial. As far as we know to this point, though I think there are still plenty of people clarifying and solidifying some of these things. Math 1125 does not count as remedial, and Math 1150 does not count as remedial. These are based on, as far as I understand, the way we do our CEPI reporting, and so those categories are applied. So it's significant that we have those 2 classes categorized as non-remedial, which any Reconnect student can take with those funds and without a penalty to us. So those are some of the bigger things. Now, with that being the case, we had to adjust the lower level of our curriculum so that we can accommodate students who would normally be placing into those or taking those. And that's reflected in the updated placement scores. And then a set of offerings for some of those classes that will be phasing out over the next year. I can let Ken maybe speak to some of those details, but 1050 will be gone more quickly, and then Math 1100 will be phasing out over the next year. Ken or Tanya, what do you have to add to that?
I mean, I can say a few things that there's an OCC group consisting of some math faculty and me and Pam from counseling that is participating in these statewide meetings, along with, I think, every other community college in the state to try to figure these out and to implement math reforms. And so we're in the middle of all of that. And they're, still trying to figure a couple of things out. But the issue is, that we can't have remedial courses going forward. It's likely the reconnect age will lower to 21 in the near future. That's being proposed. And Dr. Byrne has made it clear that we can't have two separate schedules or schedules of classes that, that the remedial courses, we need to phase those out. And that's been made clear at these state meetings. This is what's being, this is what all community colleges are going through. So it's not just OCC. So with that in mind, math 1050s last semester will be summer. We will have a few math 100, math 1100 courses in the fall, but after that, it'll be phased out. The idea is we will implement more co-requisite courses. We are still thinking about some of our math pathways and how that's going to work. But the other thing to remember, this is all with the goal of improving student success. That is the key. How can we get students to complete college level math in a better way than we've been doing? Because it hasn't been great. Students in the STEM pathway who start in math 1050 or 1100 almost never complete a college level math course on the STEM side. It's a very tiny percentage. So with that in mind, what can we do better? This is, how can we improve our success rates in college level math? How can we get students to college level math quicker? And so that's really the goal behind these co-requisites, to improve student success so that students get that extra support in these classes, but also get to college level and complete and be successful in a college level math course. So these are the discussions that are happening at the state level. And the Reconnect Act has forced us to make some of these changes. But I think our OCC group is looking at it as, this is our chance, to reform math. And how can we make these pathways better and so forth. And so that's the ongoing goal. There are still a few things to work out. This legislation hit us, pretty quickly, and we need to be in compliance by August of 2023. So anyway, I'll let Tanya say a few words if she has something to say.
I do. I just, it's a big change. It's a huge change, and I heard all the complaints that are going through email chain. And yeah, we have to comply with that. Yes, with the Michigan Reconnect age being lowered to 21 potentially, and I think governor is endorsing it, and it's going to go there. So the math 1100, I saw the note in the chat. Yes, right now, Michigan Reconnect population is about 10%, right? But if the age is lowered to 21, it will grow. And who knows what's coming next? And when Nick and I started 2.5 years ago, the rules of the game were different. The only thing that happened, they tightened. And I think they will tighten some more. So we at this point not willing to do another baby step, right? We're going to reform what we're doing, but do it right and not touch it again if we can, unless they take 1125 from us, then it will be a devastating blow to the whole process. But Michigan Math 1100 is on its way out. They don't want to see it. They want it gone. It doesn't matter. Most colleges that participate in this Friday exercise have made it go away. We're just working on it. And but with that said, taking it away is hard, right? Because there are multiple things that are affected by that. Pam, thank you, Pam. Pam and Julie sent me a long list of other courses that use Math 1100 as a prerequisite, stated prerequisite. So we can't just go and say, be gone Math 1100, right? And that's why Math 1100 remains on our schedule in the fall. While it remains in the fall, I took that list and I'm personally, and I hope to have a helper, but at the moment I'm alone, going to each discipline that has it listed as a prerequisite and try to figure out, is it the whole 1100 they need? Which pieces of 1100 they need? Is 1125 a proper substitute for 1100? And so far it's about 50-50, right? Accounting doesn't need anything but 1125. So after meeting with accounting, I'm going to make a recommendation that accountant's going straight to 1125. On the other hand, the preparation for HESI exam is different because 1125 won't do, and we need to figure out how to do those, right? So I'm going discipline by discipline, subject by subject, and trying to figure out how to replace those 1100 prerequisites in all 20 some classes that have it, right? So that process needs to be completed because before 1100 is gone, and all those disciplines will have to go to curriculum and change their prerequisite if they so choose, right? They have to do that. The other thing is, where do we put the student who comes and says, but I want a STEM path, but I can't score what you want me to score? And there are two kinds of students. Let's be honest, we hear and we know what's going on. If the student comes out of Northville High School and they cannot place into 1150 or 1150E, it's like, why not? You are instructed, you're from stable environment. Yeah, there may be one person exception, but by and large, Northville High School students do not place into 1100. They can place higher. Same with North Farmington High School or Farmington High School. Former Harrison High School students did place into 1050 and 1100. And a lot of them could pass it. And I think we have to leave the door open. We don't have that door yet. And that's why 1100 remains on a full schedule. There's a group of math faculty, as per discipline day, there's a group of math faculty who are working on that door. Whether it will take the form of the bridge program or some other ASC support program or a different class that we will offer, maybe, depending on what I'll find with 1100 research, right? There will be some sort of way for them to get there, but it won't be a 4 credit hour standard lecture math class because they have seen it before. They need a refresher. If they're capable, they need a refresher. If they're not capable, well, why are we pushing them into STEM path? Between you and me, there are students out there, no matter how much we support them, no matter how hard we try, they will not pass 1150 or 1540. And that's where the STEM path takes them, right? That's 1540, that's our ultimate goal. And then the majority of students supported will be able to go. So there will be a bridge of some kind. We don't know what form it will take because the group is working. It's an active process. And the third part of this exercise is 1150 itself. So it's a 3-pronged approach. The bridge program, the what do we do with classes that refer to 1100. And the third piece is 1100 itself. The 1150 itself. Do we need to teach 1150 like we teach it right now? And we went through the class and we pared down a number of topics. So CIC people, you're going to see me in front of the curriculum before long because we're going to take something from the course description on 1150 in order to make it less intense and in order to just give more time in the normal 1150 classroom to teach the topics that we think are important. While we were doing this, we went and examined 1150E and added some basic topics that normally wouldn't be covered, like you would expect a person to do fractions when they come to 1150E, right? But we're going to teach them from scratch. If they learn, they learn. If they don't learn, well, then what can we do about that, right? We will add the negative numbers, which we normally don't teach in 1150, but we're building up the component of 1150E to make it more robust, to include more students. And it's a more comprehensive class. It's much more thought out class. And what's more important, it's the class that will be the same on all 4 campuses, 5 campuses, whatever. As at the moment, it's not the case at all. So there's a group that's working on that. That group is pretty much done. We at this point soliciting the discipline vote. While we were doing that, because we included all those low-level subjects into 1150E, we will be asking discipline to lower the placement score into 1150E to 16. So yes, there's still a gap between the 6 and 15 where you cannot get into the STEM path, but we're hoping that the bridge program will do that. Can all of that be done by the fall, by the winter? I don't know. If something cannot be done, I mean, if all the pieces fall in place, then we're ready to kind of get rid of 1100. If not all those pieces are in place, then we will talk to Dean Williams and see if he can leave another couple sections going through the winter of 23. Right, Ken?
Of course, if there's a good reason.
So if
Whatever.
so, we're working as fast as
We can't, yeah. The
so
one
that's
thing
the
is,
idea, right? So
yes,
if we
but
have a
we-
structure to support every student, it's gone, right? Because we recreated
Right.
something better. But if we're falling behind on one or the other, AC is going through big change, right? If we relying on them to do the bridge part for us,
Right.
but they're not in a position to do that because they're going through a handsome change themselves, right? Well, then maybe we teach for another semester, but we are on a path to phase it out, but not like cut off and be done, right? We're thinking through all the pieces that go into 1100 and we're carefully replacing those pieces with the meaningful replacements. Does that
Right.
make sense?
yeah, and yeah, so 1100, yeah, it does have to be phased out, but, and while it's in the schedule, starting in the fall, we do have to make sure that Reconnect students don't take the 1100. They cannot enroll in 1100. They would put in jeopardy their Reconnect grant, their scholarship. They would put all of that in jeopardy if so. While we have a limited number of 1100 sections in the schedule in the fall, we have to make sure that Reconnect students don't take
That's
it.
not necessarily true.
Is Steve Linden here?
Well, can we just wait for a second? I think we've got some questions.
Well-
Tony, can you just?
Well, our concern obviously is the students who will need that to get to the next step. But I think with Michigan Reconnect, and correct me if I'm wrong, as long as they have 6 other credits, they get the Michigan Reconnect funds. And then if they had 1100, if they have a refund, that refunded money goes towards their other classes. So they
No,
just need 6 credits of
Something else.
Michigan Reconnect courses.
I think.
No, they can't take 1100 at all. They
Yeah.
cannot enroll in 1100. It doesn't matter if they're even using Reconnect funds to pay for it. They can't
The
take
bill
it.
also, if you want copies of the bill, it kind of talks about that. And
So-
that's the punitive part of it. If the students are doing it and the college allows it, that's where it's not, this isn't incentivized, it's actually punitive.
But I've
Right.
got House Bill 6129. You know, under Area 3, any additional remediation program must be offered at no charge to Michigan Reconnect grant students or offered outside of the institutional tuition and fee structure. So it's, if they are not charged, it's okay. You know, so there are
I
stipulations.
don't think that's right, though. I don't think that's right. We've had, OCC has lobbyists who work with representatives in Lansing, and Kristen Carey Lee can also answer this. And Jennifer Byrne is adamant about this. We cannot have Reconnect students take Math 1100 after the summer.
Okay, so I think we need clarity on that because again, I'm reading from House Bill 6129, but it also further states that for a program offered outside of its tuition and fee structure, so let's just say through money from foundation or other local funding sources, or refer students to adult education providers. So these are something that is within the bill to still maintain eligibility if they're not charged. before. So there's other areas that can be done. And then also, if I put it in the chat, so I think if you can speak to that, because it addresses a co-rec model. So if these students are able to do this through a co-rec model, they're still maintaining eligibility.
That's what they need to.
Well, if I may speak to that, that's exactly why we developed Math 1100E as a co-rec, because we were trying to meet that form of the original law. However, when they changed the definition of remedial, it doesn't matter whether it has a co-rec or not. So we could make a co-rec for Math 1050 and check the co-rec box, but it's the remediation or remedial category that would violate it. So in terms of the bridge class, I think I read something in a comment about that. Anything I've heard, again, there's been a lot of deliberation on trying to understand this bill from the higher levels of who's working with it. So we worked a lot with Jenny Schenker from the Michigan Community College Association, who's pretty closely involved with these lawmakers. And I've heard her say things like, you know, any type of class that's below this remediation or remedial line has to be free of charge. But I don't know if the details for how that is worked out are very clear. So we're still learning a lot ourselves.
Can I offer something else? So for Michigan Reconnect students, they have to take classes in 2 out of 3 semesters. So they have 1 semester a year where they do not have to take classes. Could they take Math 1100? Wouldn't it make sense in that off semester? They take Math 1100, pay for it on their own?
No, they can't even pay for it on their own. They cannot take the course. That's what we're learning from this math reform group at the state level. We can't have Reconnect students take remedial courses and remedial, and so it can't happen. Yeah.
So what happens if their placement score isn't high enough to get to 1125?
Right.
But they're
We have
an associates in, I don't know, whatever.
Science.
Arts.
I'm going to take that one on, Ken. We have students whose score isn't high enough right now to place into 1050. We always had students, our placement score was 4. Because we've been doing this Reconnect for some time here, we have gone through a lot of data sets. And I'm going to tell you, the gut feeling that I had when I was teaching 1050 is backed up by the data. Student who scores 4 and 5 on a placement exam cannot pass 1050. Like, it's just the truth. It's the data-backed statement, not my gut feeling because I don't like those students. They cannot. We have a class for them, which is 1070. Math 1070 does not have a placement score at all. And if they're working on degree in general studies, that's where they go to get that 1 math credit. That class is not going to be touched. They can take it. They can satisfy their math credit and they can be done. We'll lower the 1125E and 1100E for next semester score to 6. 6 is an uncomfortable number given the data, but we lowered as far as we could and be conscientious about that. So if they cannot score 6, you know how little you need to know in math not to score 6? You cannot add 7 and 5. That's what score 6 is. All right? So please.
Do we have questions in the chat? Because I'd like to be fair for both Zoomers and Roomers.
Yes. But, okay, one of them is, there's so many. Maybe the EMIT folks could revamp. Let me see if there's questions. So are students supposed to just keep retaking the same class until they pass it? Or
class or test.
Or retest? So if a student is not placing into 1150 or 1125, or they're barely placing into it, are they just supposed to continuously keep taking the class over and over? Are they supposed to keep retesting? Like, what are we doing to support those students?
So let me tell you a little bit about the classes. They seem to be treated as an additional 2 credit hours of instruction. They are not. So let's back up a little bit and talk about those. I teach 1540 with the component. That's what that class looks like. 1540 normal 4 credit hour class runs for 4 hours a week. And when I taught it, and I stopped teaching it some years ago because it was frustrating. If you teach 1540 and you cover everything you're supposed to, you're talking solid to yourself, wall to wall. No matter how creative you are about your teaching, essentially you will be talking wall to wall from first day to the last day. No syllabus discussion. You don't have time. And God forbid, if you have a snow day, you're losing chapter 8. That's what 1540 is, right? 1540E, it allows lower end students to come in, but I'm not talking wall to wall. I'm now talking for just 1.5 hours out of 3. And for the second 1.5 hours, they actually do stuff, right? So they're working on topics and problems related to what I just talked about for 1.5 hours. And they come and I come to them, they come to me, and we talk about it. So when I meet that student and I talk about their problems, first of all, I'm seeing personally where they're struggling. Second of all, I can throw that little piece of instruction that they're missing right here on the spot. So I'm supporting them right there, right where I found that there's a gap. And I find a lot of gaps. Every student has a gap. No student in that class that I'm teaching right now is there for bad reasons. There is not a single student who doesn't have gaps. If they went straight to 1540, half of them would have failed the class. Here in 1540, because I have so much personal time with those 22 students who are there, and how I can close the gaps, and how I don't allow them out of the classroom until they actually can do the classic problems that were taught this here in this class, everybody is passing. 22 students in 1540 are passing 1540. So no, we're trying not to send them through the wheel again and again. We're trying to support them. And yes, that's why we're here, asking you that if in doubt, ask student to take the supported class with the component, because they will be supported at the personal level, at their personal deficiencies, at their personal gaps, and their personal insecurities. Okay? So no, and if the student doesn't pass the same class 3 times, you heard Peter today. Peter said we need to double passing with graduation rates. I don't think we can be sending the student again and again through the same class 50 times. I think it's counterproductive, not only to the institution and the passing rate, but also to a student. If they didn't pass it once, that's one thing, but when they didn't pass it twice, it may be a pattern that's telling us something. So part of the math conversation that we're having is we might want to have a designated math faculty on every campus who would meet with that student and talk about why didn't you pass, what went wrong, how this, and figure out whether they should be retaking it for the 3rd time at all. Or maybe we steer them towards a different path where they'll likely be more successful. That's the personal reach every student approach here part.
I have a question. So I work a lot with the health sciences, and specifically the medical sonography degree requires trigonometry. So if a student comes in and places into 1125, is there a way to get them on that STEM pathway to get to trig? Will 1125 be able to feed into 1150, or what do we do for that student?
So we had that conversation. Actually, Belle Kimmel and I had that conversation because Belle is the one who sees those sonography students. It was specific about that particular group because when you open 1560 at Southfield, that's where those students are. And she says, they don't know algebra. Somehow they get into that 1560 class with current placement scores. I don't know how they do that. And then they're struggling, not with what she's teaching, but what came before that, right? So we're working on creating maybe a need class for those students who will be with a lower placement score and all that. I know we can go all the way to 6 because with placement score 6, we can teach you trig no matter what you do, right? But we're working on how to make a sonography students pass 1560. It's in the works.
Okay, I think we're gonna have a couple more questions. David Shomet, please.
Yeah, so here's my question, and this goes back to Tony's question about if a student scores a 6 or below and needs 1100. The message I'm hearing from you is that all those students should be pushed into 1070 so that they can just do a general studies degree and not consider any other degree at OCC.
No, I'm going to tell you this. Student who scores 4 or 5 is either not capable, at which case they should go into 1070 in general studies degree.
And I'm saying, I don't like that message coming from you.
Or
can I just say
they should be encouraged.
No way I would tell a student that.
Never tell the students that.
Yeah.
Never.
They should be encouraged to retake the placement test.
Yeah, I would just like to, one thing we have underused the ALEX placement test because students generally don't retest. And what we've seen, if for students that do, for students who, because there are lots of practice modules, you have to practice, I think, at least 3 hours before retesting the first time and then 5 hours before retesting the second time. If a student actually goes in and does those practice problems and reviews various concepts that they struggled on, they can place higher. A lot of times, you take the placement test. Yes, you've taken the practice one, so you have kind of a feeling, but just a little bit of review of certain concepts can really help students increase their placement score. And I think that works better for them than taking a remedial course, because sometimes they don't need the whole course, they kind of remember certain things from high school for these remedial courses, but maybe not everything. So just going into ALEX and going through some of those practice modules really does help students. And you can raise your placement score sometimes significantly by doing that. And I think that's what we've underutilized that at OCC. We pay a lot for ALEX and we use it for placement, but we could use it for more. We could use it, students could use it to practice problems, to better prepare for the placement test so that they do score higher. And the truth is, if we lower the placement cut for 1150E to 16, that's barely above what 1100 used to be, which I think was 14. And so I think we have to we should encourage, in my opinion, encourage students to do that more. Don't just take it once and say, oh, that's my placement score. Look at, ALEX gives a detailed printout. You can go in, you can work on problems that you struggled with. You can look at concepts, review certain concepts, take it again and place higher.
I appreciate a response that's actually positive and offers constructive strategies to help the student versus telling them what they can't do. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Doug, I really have to move the agenda. We have others, but is it something that Larry or can it wait or can it?
We don't know who Michigan Work students are.
Okay, that's a good point, because I think there's something behind the scenes that we can do. Doug said we don't know who the My Reconnect students are. So if you're worried about them getting charged, if they are just, recorded as My Reconnect, we can run a script of who the My Reconnect students are. And then perhaps the math faculty can take a look at their math 1100 students who are registered for their courses, since they're constantly looking at their classes, making sure they're filling, then say, hey, this is My Reconnect student. Got to take them out. So I think those are behind the scenes stuff that can be easy fixes, and that would be helping us and help you, know who these students are. Sorry.
Can we schedule a
I mean, I
math?
talked and I shouldn't have talked, right? Because you should have.
Can we schedule a math only?
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful to have another,
There's so much
conversation
to
about the
unpack
math
here.
courses, maybe if something big happens before fall starts. But we really have to move the agenda, and we have our next presenter. She is the Associate Provost of Academic Affairs, Jolene Chapman, who's going to be talking to us about some special projects that she's working on. So thank you so much, Dr. Williams, Nick and Tatiana, we really do appreciate it.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. When Noreen reached out to me and said, hey, all the counselors meeting, do you have anything to share? I thought, what do I have to share? And I said, put me down for 15 minutes. I'll think of something. And then I thought of a whole bunch of things that I want to share with my counselor friends. So I know time is limited, but I can talk fast. So first, I wanted to talk to you about the approach that we're taking with transfer. So I know that all of you are very familiar with David Johnson, and David is very thorough. We will all agree on that. He does a great job. A lot of his time, most of his time has been spent the last few years going around to our four-year schools saying, hey, here's what we have. Are we good enough? Are we good enough? Are we good enough? And then we craft these transfer agreements, maybe, maybe not. Dave comes back and talks, and there's a lot of conversation that happens. And then he sends out these long emails to the whole campus, and I know you guys try to keep track of them in a way that makes sense. So I've been talking with David and about how we can use him in a different way, in a way that's more meaningful to our students, and so that we're better partners with our four-year schools. So what I'm asking David to do is, instead of spending all of his time going to the four-year schools, how about now that we have on the application, when students apply, if they are transferring, they indicate that they want to transfer and they indicate the institution they want to transfer to. That's wonderful information to have at the very beginning. So David is going to take that information and he's going to travel around to all the campuses, and he's going to meet with all the students who want to go to Western. And he's going to talk with them. He's going to host an information session, hopefully bring some, via Zoom, have someone from Western there. And he's going to talk about the opportunities. He's not going to do anything about like, which classes should I take? We understand that belongs here. But he's going to group the students together, because I think the best gift we can give our students who want to transfer is connections at that four-year school, rather than here's a list of all the agreements, does anything appeal to you? I also think that the best gift that we can give our four-year partners is to call them and say, hey, we have 30 students who want to come to Western. We'd like to have you send a bus or pay for a bus, take them up there, give them a tour, feed them, and then talk to faculty members or counselors, whoever it might be. Those are meaningful connections. We all know that when students are connected with a faculty member or a counselor on campus, they feel more connected. So I'm asking David to change his approach. And so you may see these flyers about information sessions that he's hosting, and I wanted you to know why he's doing it. If you have any insight that you'd like to share with me, let me know. But that's what I want to share with you about transfer. Any questions? Yes.
Have you thought about doing it the opposite of like construction management, going into those classrooms and then informing them of what articulation agreements we have for that specific degree? Because I feel like a lot of times we have students that don't necessarily know where they want to go, but they know what they want to do.
Right.
So kind of looking at it from the
Yeah.
reverse.
I can tell you that when I was a dean in Emmett, I talk with the faculty often, remind these students of these are the opportunities there. And they would hopefully convey that to the students. Is that happening campus-wide? I don't know, probably not, but it's a great idea. So we can talk to faculty about that for sure. Anything else on transfer?
You said you were adding into the application for when students apply to OCC?
Yes.
Okay, is that like current right now or effective in the fall?
Yep, and Jeremy Guck, our Director of Admissions, already has data that shows how many students want to go to Oakland, how many want to go to Western, and it's great. It's already in the works.
Is there a way that we can view that information?
We
The
can see our
school of
everybody.
choice?
Sure. We can get that information to you.
No, I mean, like,
On the
can
computer.
we go to colleague or to look and see?
No, it's in Recruit.
I don't know.
It's in Recruit, but I think we can add it to our list for when we implement a new system. Because it's in Recruit, it's not in Colleague, I don't think.
No. Okay. All right. See if we can get that. Okay. I also want to talk to you about three things. I want to talk about dual enrollment, I want to talk about InfoSilum, and I want to talk about the MCCA catch-up summer program. Yes.
I'm sorry, there was a question in the chat about, can they also allow students to answer of how decided they are about their major as well?
Or the college they want to go to.
So can they ask them?
In the application, like,
So
this
the
is what you're choosing, how strong are you with that choice or something?
I mean, I don't know, scale or something, I'm
I'll
not.
add it to a list, so I'll give it to you.
Yeah, okay, I mean, we can look at that. I mean, but I knew when I started school, I was definitely gonna be a nurse. Look at me now. So you should all be very glad I did not go into nursing. But I mean, I was sure, and you know, we all change from when we're young. So would that be helpful? I don't know. If you all tell me it would.
Yeah, because I think sometimes like we'll get students and it'll be their first time and we're saying, oh, okay, you're pursuing this. We're like, ooh, I just actually didn't know what to pick, so I just put that on there. So that happens, I think, quite often.
I'm sure,
And
yes.
so I guess maybe if they're really unsure or undecided, or maybe even that would be better, like I'll pick this, but I'm really undecided.
Yeah.
And most of them don't know where they want to transfer to, or they've got 2 or 3 different possible options.
Right. I am, their world is just wild at that point.
Yeah.
Right? But those things get fleshed out through their conversations with you and the connections that you make with them. So to hopefully ask those guiding questions, how sure are you what you want to do this, and do you know where you want to go? Okay, any more questions on that? All right, let's talk about InfoSilum. Raise your hand if you know what InfoSilum is. Okay, all right. So I gave a little thing about this the other day, and I didn't know how many counselors were in the room. So you may have heard that the college purchased a scheduling software platform years ago, like 6-ish years ago, long before I was here. And it was purchased by Dr. Sherwood, I think. And the purpose was to help us optimize our schedule. Tell us which classes we should be offering and when and which modalities. And also, how can we utilize our rooms better, more efficiently and effectively? So I don't know what happened before I got into this role a year ago, but when I came into this role, Chancellor Provenzano said, we need to get InfoSilum up and running. Okay, so I did some research. I found out what had been done, which was very little. I connected with the consultant who's out of Canada and learned about what we need to do. So I'm here to tell you that there's a team that has been working on getting this scheduling platform up and running, been working for a year, going through training sessions to learn the functionality of the program, how it talks to colleague or how it doesn't work with colleague, and all that sort of thing. And so we're getting ready to run some simulations next month and then in June and July, with the expectation that we're going to go live in October of this year for the 24-25 schedule. Now, IE has been doing what we want the scheduling platform to do. They've been doing it kind of manually. You heard Steve Simpson, if you were on the thing this morning, talk about, and you've heard him the past year or so say, we need this many sections, this many online, blah, blah, blah. That's what this scheduling platform will do, but it will not do it unless and until we feed program plans into it so that it knows, because how can we expect it to tell us how many sections of Accounting 1800 we need if we don't know how many students have that in their plan? So we have asked the admin specialists, they've been busy transferring the information on the program plans to an Excel spreadsheet that we can then import into the InfoSilum system. So my ask here today, now this is the life according to Jolene, which is a very scary place, but if I could have my way, I would love it if every student who comes to see you leaves with a program plan, whether they're full-time or part-time, something that shows the classes they need to take in the order that they need to take them. How much of that is happening now? Most of the time, most of the time. I'm glad to hear that. Super glad to hear that, because the more information we can gather and that we can feed into the program, you know how it is with any platform like that, garbage in, garbage out. This is going to be quality information in, quality information out. So I wanted to let you know that is hopefully going to go live in October. We do need someone to serve as the administrator for the program. We need someone who has technical skills, but also understands OCC scheduling process and it can think strategically. So we've been given approval to hire, post a job as a Teamsters position for, right now, I think it's called Director of Academic Scheduling. That may change, I'm not sure. So if you see that posted, that's what that's for. And the product is called InfoSilum. Any questions about that? Okay, let me talk to you about dual enrollment. How many participated in the data summit last week and came to my session about dual enrollment? Okay, so are you Mike?
I am.
I got your email and I haven't responded yet, but great questions. So another task that Chancellor Provenzano has given me in this role is to grow our dual enrollment population. We want to provide earlier access to students, access at all, who may not otherwise go to college. So we have 28 school districts in Oakland County, and we have about 850 dual enrolled students. Now, there's traditional dual enroll where students come here from while they're still in high school, or they take an online class, or we send someone there to the school to teach. Then there's early middle college, which there are 3 in Oakland County. There's the Oakland Early College, which is here on our campus, on the Orchard Ridge campus. It brings about 150 students to our campus. Then there is the ACE, Accelerated College Experience. That also, students are in that for grades 11 through 12. They have their home school, unlike OEC. Orchard Ridge is their home school. That brings about another 150 students on campus. And then there's OTEC, which is for those who want to pursue a technical. They're in a program at one of the OSTC campuses, and then they come back to us for a 13th year where they take an entire college schedule. So with 3 early colleges already in Oakland County, and with our traditionally enrolled, dual enrolled students, we have about 850. But we have 14,000-ish students. So we should really have thousands of dual enrolled students. But why don't we? Well, there really hasn't been like a structured approach to dual enrollment here at OCC. Nobody's really like put their arms around it and said, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. So that hasn't happened in the past. And then because of where we're geographically located, I came from 2 very different schools, much smaller, one in Michigan, one Ohio, where we had to fight for every student we got for enrollment, every single student. OCC hasn't really had to do that in the past. I don't mean any disrespect to our admissions friends. They're out there and they're doing their jobs, but we've just been blessed with bountiful enrollment. But so there hasn't really been a push to go out and build more enrollment or build these pipelines. But we know that Governor Whitmer has a 60 by 30 goal. Oakland County has an 80 by 30 goal. And so there's this tremendous opportunity before us to build the dual enrollment population. So I will be asking for anyone who wants to volunteer to be on the dual enrollment committee. I again presented at the data summit on Friday and I got 12 volunteers. I was astounded because who wants to serve on another committee, right? Like nobody. So I was thrilled with that. Mike, I got your email. I know you're like, I don't know if I want to be on a committee, but I have some thoughts.
I did not put that in the email.
I read between the lines, which is perfectly fine. No, I appreciated that. And so he raised some good points that I want to get back with you on. So more to come about dual enrollment. My ask here today, though, is can I have at least one counselor serve on the dual enrollment committee? Because I don't know if it makes sense in your roles to have like one counselor dedicated to dual enrollment overall or on each campus, or if that isn't even wise. I will let you all tell me what you think about that, but I just want you to know that there is going to be a concerted effort to build our dual enrollment population. Okay, is there questions coming in? Oh, in the room.
Go ahead.
Just a little feedback. When I'm dealing with a lot of dual enrolled students or students who are interested in it,
the school districts all seem to have different criteria. So they come in and they're like, I don't know if I can do this. My school told me this. This school allows them to take as many as possible. So that would just be something in
It
working
is
with the
something-
high schools.
Yes, it does. You're so right about that. We have been
area.
taking our show on the road, Lola Banks and I, and Jeremy Guck, Director of Admissions, and I, we've been going to these schools to talk to the superintendents, principals, and counselors. Now, despite the fact that the state gives the schools money to pay for tuition for these, there isn't a lot of support or encouragement necessarily from the K-12 districts. So that's why we gotta go in and make our presence known and pull those students in. You're right, they all are very different. We're trying to get our arms around what the school districts want. I can tell you, to the 7 we've been to so far in person, they all want different things. Despite the fact that there's 3 early middle colleges in Oakland County, they want their own. Some of them want things that I just have never even thought of. So we're trying to gather information now, and then we do want to go back to those K-12 partners and say to them, this is what we can do, but this is how we need your help. We need a more streamlined process. We need to get the parents involved, and we know we need to get the parents involved because they have a lot of influence, and they need to have all of the knowledge to help their teenager make a good decision. So great feedback, and I agree with you. Yes, thank you. Tony?
Well,
If I could just interject.
I was gonna say the same thing, that there's been hesitation from high schools to want to do it, so probably you have to get to the parents, but probably a marketing mailing campaign to 8th grade graduating
Yes.
students, so that you get them early to know that that's an option, and when they go to the schools, then the schools have to do it.
Yes, very good. So you may have heard that we got this C3 grant. I don't know if that means anything to you. What it means for me is we are going to get 2 full-time positions to help us. One is a dual enrollment navigator whose job is going to be in the school districts, talking to parents, counselors, school administrators, and prospective students. So that'll be tremendous. And then the other is a K-12 program, what is it? K-12, help me, Bev, partnership program. I'm going to do like early awareness programs for 7th and 8th graders, opportunities to bring people on campus. We have schools that reach out to us now, but it's just like onesie twosie, and there's not a lot of structure to it. And we need to, I would love to have like a calendar of events, these things that we do every year at the same time, so everybody knows what they are. So I'm very excited. I'm grateful for these grant funds that we are getting these positions. So yes. Other questions?
We had a Zoomer wanting to ask a question. If we can get, I'm not sure exactly who it was, but please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I think I was one of them. This is the other Pam. I wrote something in the chat because when you use the term dual enrollment and you go to the high schools, that have certain connotations, which includes students being out of the building for a certain amount of time. You know, the state pays for it. They usually have some type of criteria in terms of what's your GPA, as well as, you know, what are your test scores or whatever they're using, some type of formula. So when you go to school access, you know, if you meet with some resistance, it's because they have these criteria in place, and that's what they follow.
So I think the question was along what you asked, like all the schools have different criteria. We're gonna try to
The former high school counselor.
help the schools go in
That's
there
gonna keep.
and streamline the process, simplify the process, and try to get some consistency. So that is part of this effort. So if you have any ideas or thoughts about dual enrollment, send me an email like Mike did. I won't put words into your mouth.
It wasn't that long.
Kelly Marks said she would love to be on the committee. Kelly Marks.
Kelly Marks, wonderful. Oh, I think I had her on my list already, actually. So wonderful, thank you. Okay, you'll be hearing more about dual enrollment. The last thing I want to talk, do I still have time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, last thing I want to talk to you about is, speaking of early programming, the Michigan Community College Association is administering this grant program to for community colleges to offer summer programming for recently graduated seniors. So kids who are seniors now We want to have them back sometime in the summer for some kind of catch-up program. The idea is to get them prepared, give them confidence so that they enroll in college level English and or math in the fall. So as with other grants, like MCCA came out with this, they said, we're doing this, we're gonna throw all this money at you, go. And gave us virtually no guidelines. And so we've been talking to other community colleges across the state to kind of figure out what they're doing. What we're thinking is, I've talked with the ASC faculty because they got a hold of me like right away when they heard about it. They would like to offer ASC 1070 course. And then I wanted to ask my counseling friends if there is an appetite or if we think it's wise to offer the career planning course to those students in the summer. Yeah?
We'll have this summer?
Yeah.
When and for how long?
Don't know. So initially the ASC faculty said, we're only gonna be here in August, so we gotta do the first 3 weeks in August. Okay, but that's kind of late. We want to kind of get students who, if we can get them earlier so that they can make decisions. So of course we have to wait till they graduate though. That's mid-June-ish. So I'm thinking like maybe sometime in July for 3 weeks. What we do for the students is we're going to bus them here. We're going to feed them. We're going to give them free college courses. We're going to give them a laptop. We're going to give them all these wraparound services. So in addition to the career planning course, I'm going to be asking my counselor friends to be available. We'll pay you to work with these students because they need extra support. So I have to first figure out the courses that we're going to offer, and then I have to work with the faculty to figure out who can be here and when. So if you think you have an interest in teaching the career planning course this summer, go ahead and shoot me an email, give me your availability. I will work with you the best that I can. Some thought was like, we'll do one early and one, later. It's a lot of logistics and we don't even have the K-12 program coordinator hired yet. And there are 3 bridge programs that person needs to do this summer. So it's a lot of logistics we'd like to offer at once. And then if students are successful, we would offer them a scholarship to take a 3 credit hour course in the fall. Has to be English or math because that's what the grant specifies. So there's little information known about this. I've been kind of meeting with deans and faculty members as I can, but I thought, oh, this is a great thing to talk when I have all the counselors in a room. So if you're interested in that, please look me up and I would be happy to talk with you. Yes?
There's a chain of command of teaching classes. We got to get approval from our dean.
So I've actually had a conversation with your
We need to
dean.
focus on, going
Yes.
through that process.
Yes, I've actually had a conversation and she's the one who said maybe the career planning course would be a good one. And I said, well, we'd have to get all the counselors on board. And then Nareen said, hey, why don't you come and talk? And I'm like, well, this sounds like a great opportunity. So Dr. Stamborough is on board with this. So if you're interested, maybe talk with her. She knows a little more about the program. And there is like an FAQ that I can point you to give you information about it if you want more information. So
Is this aimed for students who will be coming to OCC in the fall anyway? And is there a possibility it could be online because people aren't necessarily all in this area for 3 weeks in July?
So we can't hold them hostage and say you have to come here in the fall. These are students who may be thinking about going somewhere else or maybe coming to go OCC or maybe not thinking about college at all, but it's a way to get a laptop. It's a way to get fed. It's a way to get college credits under your belt for
So
free.
they have to, part of the grant is they have to take these 2 courses in the fall.
No, they don't have to take any college coursework in the fall. That's what we hope that they do. But if they do and they come to OCC and register for either college level English or math, we'll give them a scholarship to take one of those courses free.
How do those students get involved in this program at the high school?
So we're going to focus on, I should back up. Remind me that you asked that. The MCCA gave each community college like a stretch goal to meet. They said, according to us, based on our enrollment, we should we should plan for like 430 students. I think that's very, very ambitious. Maybe it's realistic, I don't know. I'm planning for 100. If we can get 100, I would be happy. So we're initially gonna work with our promise schools, Pontiac, and we're gonna work with Hazel Park, Oak Park, and Southfield to see if we can get students from those schools first. We're gonna go out and we're gonna meet with those administrators and counselors at those schools to talk about the program. Once we figure out the details, and then they will hopefully help promote that. And then we're gonna open it up countywide to all 28 schools in the district. But again, there's a lot of logistics with busing and whatnot. So we'll work that out.
Yeah, so please, if any of you are interested, work through your chair, because there's a lot of logistics that we have to handle at our end and making sure it doesn't impact load. It doesn't, because when you're teaching, then there are hours that you can't be counseling as well. So that affects that whole thing. And we need you. Okay.
That's all. I know I threw a lot at you really fast. So do you have any questions or comments or concerns?
Yeah. Here's a question.
About the schools, I think I answered it, was that we were gonna work with those school districts, the 4 individually, and we're gonna have the administrators and counselors kind of help promote it. And then when we get this K-12 partnership coordinator on board, we're gonna send that person out to also help recruit for this program.
Okay, so the students will be fed the information from the administration down.
I know it doesn't always work that way.
Oh.
So that's why we're gonna try to talk to counselors before school is out. So hopefully I can sew up the details. And then we can go to counselors with like a flyer to say, hey, would this be a great opportunity for students?
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest a flashy flyer that even can go into classrooms.
Yeah.
of seniors.
Or email or something like that, because it doesn't always come down.
Yeah, oh, I know. Yes, thank you. Good point. Well taken.
Thank you so much, Jolene. I hate to cut you short.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We're gonna skip over past Chris because she graciously allowed us to move to Ken because it's his time right now. So we've got criminal justice degree, Homeland Security faculty, Ken, I didn't want to mess his name up, Ken Van Sparentek, criminal justice faculty. So he's zooming with us. Take it over, Ken.
Okay, everybody can hear me okay?
Yes.
Hey, thank you for the invite. I appreciate it. And again, thank you, Chris, for letting me go ahead as well. My name is Ken Van Sparentek, and I've been full-time with the college since 2009. And that's when I started the Homeland Security Certificate of Achievement program. I also run the firefighter technology degree side as well. And a couple of years ago, this Homeland Security was placed under CRJ, and it has also become fully online. And I'm excited to announce that in the fall, this will become a degree, an AAS degree in Homeland Security and Emergency Management. And I'm really trying to emphasize the emergency management aspect of it, which is more looking at the local level, while we'll still be covering the broader Homeland Security aspects at the federal level. It's also not to be confused with the emergency financial manager, that helps communities with bankruptcy and receivership. And I never even thought of that until my college graduate daughter, when I was talking to her a couple of years ago about emergency management. And that's the first thing she thought of was the troubled community. So this has nothing to do with that. This is also one of 3 OCC programs that are partnering with Michigan Community College Association this fall, and there is a strong interest. You know what? I think I have the PowerPoint. Is that probably not showing, is it?
Not yet.
Okay. So anyway, there was a quote from Dr. Lee, who is the executive dean and for the MCCA, and how interested that they are in the whole emergency management piece. So we're looking forward to that partnership as well. Last week, the program plan was put out there, and so that'll be in the catalog, and I can get that out as needed. But also I wanted to place here. So when we talk about the jobs, it's very broad as far as what Homeland Security and emergency management offer. When we typically look at the jobs out there, we look at the local, state, and the federal opportunities that are typically the ones emphasized, as well as growing roles in the private sector. In the last 2 weeks, the Oakland County Emergency Management and Preparedness Office in Pontiac, they posted the emergency management specialist position that's again headquartered in Pontiac, and they make pretty good salaries, and there's lots of jobs like we're seeing in so many industries. So I've also discussed the possibility of an internship with Oakland County's Director of Homeland Security and trying to get 1 or 2 OCC students in place in the county where they can start understanding if emergency management may be a role that they're even interested in, because there are very few opportunities like that. So if we can help a student determine if this is the career for them, then that's kind of what I'm working with them on. And it doesn't have to stop at Oakland County. There's other townships and cities that have their own emergency management or EOC, their Emergency Operations Center, where they're doing kind of the same role. And I'm trying to not pull away from Homeland Security, but let others know that it's, when they hear Homeland Security, a lot of people immediately think Department of Homeland Security, and this is not that. It is typically more of a federal or global look at emergency management. But when we look at emergency management of what we handle, including just recent disasters or crises, such as COVID or the Midland dam break, numerous other large-scale incidents, the Flint water crisis, and where we kind of put emergency managers in place, and that requires a large support team as well. We do have articulation agreements, and part of how I came up with the Homeland Security and emergency management was just talking to other universities, and including Eastern, that has a master's in Homeland Security and emergency management, and just seeing how they were identifying the program. And again, I just wanted to encourage or spread the message about emergency management and not just Homeland Security. So we'll continue working with these universities and others, because I do think, as was mentioned in the beginning, that the emergency management concept is a newer one as far as an academic path in community college. And really, I just wanted to make you aware of it. And if there's anything that I can do to help promote it, at 4:00, I do have a meeting with our marketing department to, get the word out and how we get that out to students, and also to career first responders that may be retiring soon. And a lot of times this is a path that they end up going down. And other than that, is there any questions?
Ken, you had that PowerPoint. Did you want me to go through it, or are you all set with what?
I'm good. It was just 4 slides, and I can always share it, but it's not something to lose sleep over. It was pretty brief.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you would imagine, just for me to clarify, this would be the sort of person that would work like Hurricane Katrina. They had an emergency management center where like dispatch and first responders were all kind of linked in. Is that what you see this as being more in that sort of role?
I do look at it that way. I did spend 2 weeks down in New Orleans for Katrina, and there's so many pieces that are part of it. So you have everything engaged, including the federal, local, state, and so many agencies you never would have thought of, even, as far as animal services and military and everything. So I am looking more at the, not so much Cold War, or not even so much, this all started post 9/11, Homeland Security as a discipline. And usually it's linked with criminal justice, but it's gone so much further beyond terrorism, because now we're still going to be managing incidents at the local level. They're the ones that are going to be there first. And so it definitely has expanded in that EM role versus just Homeland Security. I hope that answered it.
Yeah, thanks.
So if I have a question for you, Ken, just for the folks who work with the catalog, the criminal justice certificate is now the criminal justice degree. So as of, this effective 2023, you won't see that. So can you tell me the reasons why, perhaps, what was the difference before and now, to finally to change it to a degree as opposed to keeping the certificate, perhaps just for the group so they can share with students?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people really don't understand what the degree was. It's really, post 9/11 in its infancy, and we were still trying to define, is it terrorism centric, or where we made the change was, no, this is going to be all hazard centric, because we responded to terrorism attacks and things like that. But then we have an event like Katrina and numerous other natural disasters afterwards that we can't really manage them efficiently or on our own. So it really did just change from a threat centric to all hazards, and and as we've seen, whether it's Michigan or things that are just happening at more of the local or state level, that they've been increasing, and we don't have resources. It's a lot of times retired law enforcement. There may be an opening at the county Homeland Security. You may not even know that we had a Homeland Security office in Oakland County or the other counties surrounding us. But a lot of times they just retired from law enforcement or fire service, and now they're an emergency management specialist. And there was just a gap that we need to start bringing people up as those specialists, out of high school or whenever they decide.
Okay, any other questions for Ken from the Zoomers or the Roomers? Anything else? Okay, thank you so much, Ken. We really appreciate you taking the time to do
Okay.
this. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce Eric. He is a CIS faculty. He's going to talk to us about the new data science certificate, and then some other minor criminal CIS changes. All right, take it away, Eric.
Hi, thanks for letting me be here. I also have Dr. Baugh from CIS as well. He's very knowledgeable in this data science certificate as well, as he and I kind of developed this together. So the idea with this is we're hoping to target folks with industry experience. So it's a certificate targeted people who already have degrees, to get them skills needed to do data science sort of work as people look at getting into this new upcoming field. It's definitely one of the larger fields in IT, as it's growing very quickly as people learn the value of data. So it's just a certificate. So it's just the core classes. They're almost all CIS classes, but we also do have a requirement for statistics from our friends in the math department. So we've got a full-time program plan example and a part-time program plan example. I think those are, you've got links to them, or I can put links in the chat. They're on the website. I don't actually know what to expect full-time versus part-time. Hopefully we can get a feel for that as people start enrolling in the program, launching this fall. But it takes them through a core of learning to program, learning specific skills needed to do data science work, and then getting into some basics of machine learning, managing big data, and all sorts of fun stuff with that as well. So questions about data science in particular, and then our other programs I can talk briefly about as well. Right, easy. And then you've got my name. Chernesky is a pretty unique last name, so you can find me. If you do have any questions in the future, feel free to send them my way. So for our other programs, we have currently 4 associate degree programs and 5 certificate programs, and then a single certificate of achievement program. As part of our curriculum review, we're proposing, we still need to work through the approval of killing off the business systems analysis associate degree. There's no corresponding certificate with that. Enrollment's been very low in that, and job opportunities for someone at the associate level have not worked out very well. A lot of those skills and tracks of going into that and learning project management style work, companies seem to be looking for a 4-year degree. So moving forward, the plan is to focus on our cybersecurity associate degree and certificate, the information technology support associate degree and certificate, and the software engineering degree and certificate. And then, so the data science is a standalone certificate. You're not likely to get a job with just an associate's degree in data science, because the idea with data science is that you have a broad base understanding of a particular field in industry. So to do good data science work, you need to understand your specialty field so that you know what the data is telling you about. You need the computer science background and you need the mathematics background. So that's what the idea with the certificate there is. And then one of the certificates we currently have is the web designer certificate. We're also proposing that one to be sunset, as that's the enrollment's been down and opportunities for just plain web design work have really kept up, especially as this is a lot easier to do now with the tools for point and click. Anyone can go out and build a website now. You don't need to go hire a web designer for that sort of thing. And then the certificate of achievement is for the Cisco internetworking. So you take a 4-class track here to learn about Cisco networking, and you can get a Cisco certification at the end of that if you want to sit for that exam. So you might have seen some program changes come through. Our friends in philosophy, for our associate degree programs, the Intro to Logic class has been a standard requirement in all of our associate degree programs, the Philosophy 1710, Introduction to Informal Logic. And then one of the folks asked us, hey, we also have this class, Intro to Formal Logic, and we thought that'd be a good option as well. So the program change to the associate degree programs includes that now as an option for students. They can take either one of those philosophy classes. And that's about it that changed to the programs.
I think one of the questions I get a lot, and then I have to kind of dig backwards to, look at what kind of job title to look for, and then look for the right certificate or degree. So can you provide some job titles, like what we could do with this data science certificate? So if the student completes it, what job titles am I helping the student look for?
So likely jobs similar like to data analyst, data scientist is another common one there. There's not really been a good standardization in the industry, as organizations tend to do this their own approach. So some organizations have an entire team of just data scientists who work on things. Other people have data engineers. They have the job titles
machine learning engineers.
Yeah, machine learning engineers.
Yeah.
Those are very helpful. Other questions that you may have, colleagues?
You said that this data science certificate is really not good standalone and that you would need to move on for a bachelor's degree. So is there like a specific bachelor's, what are they transferring for the bachelor's degree?
Like what
No,
program?
so the data science certificate should be students who already have degrees. This is adding data science skills to someone who already has an industry background. There are a couple organizations around that have a bachelor's for data science. They're not as common. Typically, you'll see master's level data science programs who can obviously go a lot deeper than we can, but this is a good way to start people transitioning into a new role here.
Another question we had from the Zoom room is, are there certain CIS faculty that can be our go-tos to if we had a student or if we even had questions, who are our go-tos? Do you still have that? Because we had a list before.
So we do have a couple of folks listed on the website. If you go to our program websites, there are folks listed. I'm happy to take any and all questions. Dr. Hanny Othman is our cybersecurity specialist. So he manages that program. He's also over the IT support associate degree and certificate program there. Dr. Ball and I and Hadi Nasser here or at the Orchard Ridge campus, I say here, but that's my campus, generally manage the software engineering, web design, data science certificate. And Ken Sigler helps out with software engineering, and he's overseeing the business systems analysis program as that one gets sunset as well, pending approval. Sorry, we still need to get approved to kill that. If you just want to send it to me, I can definitely find the right person. I'm happy to be the point person if you'd like, and then that's less folks that you have to keep track of.
2 quick notes from me, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Even though we're looking at sunsetting the web design certificate, we still do have web application development in software engineering. So it's not the same thing. So if you look at it and you see that you're like, oh, I think they're getting rid of that, you don't tell students that. So it's the web application development focus for software engineering is associate degree, certificate is still valid. And the other thing would be that inside the data science program, there's also a course for discrete structures. And a lot of universities require that for their CIS and data science students. So we're going to look into getting that to make it more transferable. So we'll see if we can talk turkey with some of the local universities. So just putting that on the everyone's radar. So it's called discrete structures.
I think one clarification I just want to make for this group, in the 2023-2024 catalog, the one that's coming out, the web designer certificate remains in there. It hasn't been sunsetted. I know they're proposing that in the future, but it still exists. So I think if there are students still out there who are pursuing it, by all means, it's still in the catalog. So I think we got to be clear on the communication, because we don't want to tell students it's gone, and then all of a sudden you'll see a whole bunch of CIS students at your doorstep, Eric. And so, okay.
And when it's sunset,
Yes, Rashida.
it takes like a couple semesters for that to happen, like the deans and
it takes
faculty inform students, right? Like
Yeah, because if you were thinking of sunsetting it, Eric, we're going through those catalog changes now for 2024, 2025. You've got to come through by October 3rd in order to make that change for the 2024, 2025 catalog. So keep that in mind, and certainly any of the chair CIC members can work with you. If you're at Auburn, that would be Jeff Farah. You've got Alicia on the line who can definitely assist you at Auburn too. She's
our dean's working through the paperwork and developing the teach out plan. So it's all pending approval from Higher Learning Commission, and then we can go through the official process. So we're on it. Thank you.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Sorry. Any other questions? Any other questions from Zoom? Nope. All right. Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate your time. Really do. Thank you. All right, who's next on our agenda?
At least, yeah.
I think we have Chris Evans for credit for prior learning. Chris.
Hello, everyone. So I promised that we have some exciting things going on, and we do. So part of the Michigan Reconnect legislation kind of pushed that we have to offer credit for prior learning opportunities for our Reconnect students, but there's a benefit to all students with this legislation because it's going to expand opportunities for all students. So this is one of those universal design where it benefits everyone. So let me kind of show you what's out there now. I've only been in this role as the CPL coordinator on the supplemental contract for like a month and a half now. And there's been a lot to get done with this project, but it's moving along really nicely. So I'm gonna show you, here we go. So to get to the page where we list everything credit for prior learning, because I never remember all those backslashes, I just always go to the A to Z index and then scroll down to credit for prior learning. And if you haven't already seen this page, you should take a peek at it. Right now, we are listing 6 different ways for students to get credit for prior learning. So apprenticeships, which they would work with Cameron Albring over in the workforce area if they're interested in that. The high school credit, there's links to AP scores and IB scores. I don't know about you, but there's been times when I've been meeting with students who are coming in with AP scores, and I'm trying to find that webpage, like in the admissions and registrars area, and I can never find the darn thing. Well, you can go to this credit for prior learning and get the link, and it'll bring you right to that page where they list all the classes and what tests, all of that is on there. So this is kind of an effort to kind of bring all of those opportunities to one page. The CLEP, right now, there's not a link to our CLEP tests and what we give students credit for, but that's something that I'm working with Anna Hansard from our website. So soon there'll be a link on here that'll bring you directly to that list of CLEP tests. There's licensure and certification. I'm going to jump back to that in just one second. Exam credit. So that's more like credit by exam. These are going to be opportunities that we're going to be seeing more of in the near future because we'll be reaching out to program faculty to see about creating these exams and setting up a process instead of it being hit and miss. And then there's military and veterans credit. That's already existing very nicely. Students send that JST to our registrar's office, to that transcripts email, and we're now giving students more than just that 4 credits of PE. If they went to like their military command school, they're getting some credits for that. So we're doing quite a bit of nice things with the military and veterans. Number 7 that will be added as the process is set up is portfolios. So the whole portfolio notion is somebody who's been working in the industry, like, so for example, the mental health social work, if they've been working in the field of mental health social work, that they can create a portfolio of information, present it to the program faculty, and they can assess based on a rubric whether that student should get credit at the college level for that or not. We have to establish a process and a cost for that. And there's going to be broader involvement in a lot of these initiatives, like with administrators and program faculty and whatnot. So you don't see a reference to that on this page yet, but it will be coming. So I'm going to jump back to the licensure certification. So when you click on that, it brings you over to the licensure and certification page. So you'll see it lists the process that students would follow. And then it lists different areas. So for example, when you click on criminal justice, you can see right now, if they have the professional emergency manager, and there's a typo here, it should be PEM, they can get credit for 1405. So essentially, if somebody is coming to us with that PEM certification, which comes from the state, they can go and fill out this form here. It's a web form. And then they would just hit submit. And then they would just go back and email a copy of that license or certifications to the registrar's office. And then, Tara or Emily will be able to go on to their record and just put that they have credit for this. So obviously there's a lot more credits that need to be added here. I'm trying to work with Dave Cece for the firefighter and the EMS. So that's kind of like phase 2 with this, but there's some things for automotive if they have ASE, and then there's also construction management if they have the OSHA 30. Machine tool has a bunch, and then computer information has a bunch on here too. So this is nice to have as a reference for our students, but starting next month, students will be able to use the Michigan Transfer Network to look up where they can get credentials, credits for credentials. So it won't go live until the 17th of April, but when it goes live, you'll be able to go into the Michigan Transfer Network. They'll have a link for you to click for credit by industry. So if somebody has, for example, if somebody has, where it is. Okay, so if somebody has OSHA 30, you can go in and see all the different schools that will give them credit. So the thing with this is we're probably going to see students that are kind of shopping around to see, based on their credential, where can they get the most credits that will help them move forward towards a degree. So that's why this whole credit for prior learning initiative was really put forward, because there are a lot of adult workers who don't have degrees but have been working in a field for a long time and might have industry credentials. And so this is a way to maybe try and give them credits that'll help them earn a degree and maybe be able to advance in their own career, down the line. So when the MI transfer comes on board, they can search by credential, or they can just go in and look. If you go you can go by receiving institution, and then you can just see. These are the ones that are in OCC's list of credits for prior learning so far. So what you see here is the same as what you saw here. So what we're going to be doing is in this next phase is getting those additional credentials that aren't in here added to both our webpage and to the Michigan Transfer Network. And then we're going to be visiting with program faculty that maybe haven't thought about establishing a credential for prior learning and adding them to the list. So we're going to be expanding this by quite a bit. It's a lot of great stuff, a lot of exciting stuff. Will probably benefit our students in our technical or AAS or technical programs more than anyone else. The other thing that I want to let you know, as a byproduct of the legislation, one of the things that the legislation stated is that we have to provide labor market information for our students. So I was lucky enough, Kim added me to the committee to look at some widgets that will be added to OCC's website. And we've seen a couple of vendors. And so this information that you see right here, where it gives you an overview of employment trends, and salaries, this information is, no matter which vendor we go for, this will be added to our programs. So when you're starting to talk to someone who's saying, hey, what kind of money can I make if I go into nursing? You'll be able to show them on our program pages this kind of information. You can even change geographic location, because we get some students who say, yeah, I want to go to school here, but I want to move to Florida because it's warmer down there. They can go in here and see, what is the labor market information going to be for Florida. So this is going to be coming in the near future as well. So there's some great stuff going on with credit for prior learning. So I see, is there something in the chat? ECE, so early childhood, that's one of the areas. I had sent an email to Tiffany earlier this week because they have the CDA credential. If someone comes to OCC with the CDA, they actually get early childhood credits. And so we need to get them added to that list. There's a lot of gaps that we're trying to fill in with credits for licensure and certification.
Got a question, Chris. Can you go back to that site? Because there was a request form that I thought was interesting for folks to know what to do with students who are requesting the credit.
Okay.
Yeah, our OCC site.
Yeah, I X'd it because of the, there's that little bar when you share your screen. And I couldn't get past it to show you. So so you're talking about this?
All the way in the bottom. Yep. Yes.
So what's the question?
Oh, so if we have a student who's looking for some credit for prior learning and they're not on the list, do we just have them fill out this form and someone will get back to them? Is that
so? This,
protocol?
Yeah. So this form is best used by people that have the credential that's listed here. If they're seeking credit for credentials that we don't already list, probably sending them to the program faculty would be a good start, because when people want to get added to this list, when programs and faculty want to get courses added to this list, we're going to be creating a process, like a form that faculty member would initiate or dean would initiate, so that we can make sure that we're getting all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted with information. So for example, when we look at this PEM, one of the things that I had to have in the repository is a picture of what that credential looks like, so that when Tara or Emily get them, they know they're getting a correct credential, and they can go back to the system and actually cross-reference it to make sure that it's accurate, that they should be getting that credit too, because we don't want people to just like create their own certificates and try and falsely get credit as well. So right now, request form for these existing ones. Anything new, meet with program faculty.
Anybody have questions for Chris? This is exciting. Yes.
Will there be any charge for any of the types of credit for prior learning, like portfolio? I mean, somebody's
Yeah.
gonna have to look that over. It's gonna cost somebody something.
Yeah, so the portfolio is definitely going to have a cost affiliated with it. Credit for exam will have costs affiliated with it. So for other schools, for the portfolio review, it ranges anywhere from $100 to $300, depending upon the school. We obviously don't want to make money on it. We just want to make sure that we're paying whoever's doing the work for their time appropriately. So that part has to be worked out, and I'm sure Kim will be involved with that. Jennifer Byrne, some of the other academic leadership, because we obviously don't want to create something that's going to be problematic for our board or for our students or for the whole process.
But not for things like a certificate for a CIS credential or something like
Right.
that. Just gonna get
Right.
the straight credits, no cost.
Right, just like somebody sending a transcript to us.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? Anything on the Zoom? Chris, you're doing some great work. This is exciting. I'm so glad you've taken on this.
I'm
extra-
excited, and sometimes you'll see me skipping around in the hallway in Auburn Hills when something new comes online, because I'm so freaking excited about it.
Well, I'm glad you're doing it because I know your work ethic and I know how you work with the online stuff, and it's amazing stuff. Good job. Good job.
Thanks.
All right, we have our other colleagues. We've got Mary Thomas and then we've got Alicia on Zoom, and they're going to be talking to us about the Oakland Fire Academy, the certificate that's new starting. Take it away, ladies.
Great. So Alicia and I are here to talk about fire, because we love all things fire. So the Academy, our fire certificate went from a certificate of achievement to an actual certificate. So it'll now be financial aid eligible, and the credits that our students are getting will actually be reflective of the hours that they put into the Oakland Fire Academy. So this is similar to what happened with Oakland Police Academy a couple of years ago, where they're trying to right size it. So the catalog page, I'll share my screen if I can. Let's find it. There we go. So just real briefly, we can see the credits increase for some of the courses, but now again, it is 23 credits. So it is a certificate, and the classes are underneath a technical sciences degree underneath that secondary area. This will go into effect for fall of 2023. Nothing else about the admissions has changed. Students still have to contact the fire office, do an orientation, and then get registration approval for the academy. So on the academic side, any questions, any thoughts, questions, concerns? So I'm going to turn it over to Alicia to talk about the next steps for our folks who are in our fire academy.
So as Mary had mentioned, I'm going to share my screen with you guys. We have, if I can find the academy, both the academy, fire academy, and then we also have the firefighting technology degree. So I want to do a distinction between the two of those. And I want to show you all, if we look in the catalog, well, I thought I had brought this up earlier. You did. We have both a full-time and a part-time academy. And so the full-time academy is 11 weeks. It's going to be Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day. And then we have that full-time academy in both the fall and the winter. And like Mary said, that's where a student has to go through the orientation and then apply to that academy. They do still need to see a counselor. So they have to go through those mandatory counseling steps. And then ultimately, Amy Fairless is the person who would register them for their classes. So that full-time academy happens twice a year, fall and winter, 11 weeks, Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, 8 to 5. The part-time academy starts typically in November, ends in May. And that's going to be 2 nights a week. It's typically, this could change, but thus far it's been Monday evenings and Thursday evenings, 6:30 until 10:30 p.m. And then 2 to 3 Saturdays per month, all day Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So those are the 3 different methods through which a student or a future cadet can go through our fire academy. Now they get a certificate, used to be the certificate of achievement. The piece that I really want to point out to folks is the importance of students having at minimum an EMT license. Nowadays, the different municipalities are going to require, just to get an application at the fire department or their city hall, they have to have at least the EMT license, which for us is the EMS.EMT.ca, the certificate of achievement, those 12 credits. Actually, if a student does the fire academy first, they are going to earn credit for EMS 1200. So if they do the EMT coursework afterward, they would only have to do 3 classes, the EMS 1010, 1020, and 1100. They would not need to redo 1200 state extrication. And state extrication is eventually going to make it onto that list that Chris was showing us, because that's going to be credit for prior learning that they would earn. Now, so it's very important that the student has that EMT. They don't need it to do the academy. So the order in which it comes is not as important as having both of those when they go to look for a job. If they have the paramedic, oh my gosh, even bigger bonus, because many of the municipalities don't just do fire. Their full-time fire departments are running medicals as well as putting out fires. And so they need the people on those trucks to be more than just EMTs. They need at least 1 medic on a truck. And so if they are a medic coming in, oh my goodness, they're even more valuable, because that department doesn't have to send that person through our paramedic program or elsewhere. They don't have to pay overtime to the person as they're going through that program. They don't have to pay overtime to backfill when they're not at the department. So it's very, very beneficial if a person has the paramedic. Not required, but very beneficial. The EMT, they need it. What else did I want to point out? In terms of, I mentioned the prior learning. So if a person, let's say they come in with the Michigan Firefighter 1 and 2. Now, why they would go somewhere else to do it other than our fantastic fire academy, I don't know. But if we had someone that does come in with that, again, that's something that will eventually make it onto what Chris is working with. They come in with a Firefighter Training Council 1 and 2. That's going to give them FFT 1510, 1520. That's how it currently exists. I know that is changing in the CT. So Chris, that's probably something that you'll want to speak with. I don't know if it would be Dennis Cotton. He's actually the one that's over the academy, or if it would be Dean Cece, but one of them will need to determine, are we going to still give Firefighter Training Council that credit, or what would we be giving them? Yes, the Firefighter Training Council certificate comes after a person has gone through an academy. Well, not everybody's looks as good as ours and does as much as ours. So I'm not sure what that will yield in the future, but currently Firefighter Training Council licensure is going to give you FFT 1510, 1520. And then I did get a chance to go to Chris is right. She does skip down the hallways when she finds these cool new widgets and gadgets. And so she shared with me the site that she just showed us. And so I went to it. I'm going to share it with y'all. I went into Central Oregon site. Chris, thank you for showing me how to do this, and changed it to Michigan. So what we're looking at here is projected growth, the number of folks currently working, the number of positions, as well as the income. So right now, 14,200 and some firefighters are employed in the state of Michigan, making an average salary of $41,300. Right now, there's 310 job postings. So the projected growth on through 2030 is going to be 6.7% growth. And then some of those top occupations that you see here, obviously just full firefighters, fire medics are going to make more. I mean, I can just share what goes on in the department that I know best, Southfield, and that's a 10% bump in pay if you are also a paramedic. But minimum, as I mentioned, was you have to come in with at least that EMT. So these are some of the other occupations relative to having that fire certificate. Now the difference, so I have a couple more seconds here. Well, they haven't pulled the cane yet, so I'm going to tell you the difference. Why would a student go for the FFT.AAS? That's more for promotional purposes. To get the job, you need to have gone through a fire academy, and you need that EMT. You're even more beneficial, more enticing if you've got the medic license. But you don't have to have the associate degree. That a person would go for that once they're looking to promote to lieutenant, bat chief, captain, etc. So that's where that piece comes in. Unlike the police academy, they do not have to have a certain level of English. They do not have to have a degree to get into the fire academy. OCCs, they just had to have they had to apply, and they had to have gone through that orientation. Questions?
Any questions? Any questions for Alicia and Mary? Wow, you did great. No questions. Well, thank you so much, ladies. We really do appreciate it. And Bev and Dr. Hearns had a meeting with Delta College, so they had to step away. But they're still in the building.
But I'll be here in case you don't miss me.
Thank you so much. Fabulous work. Okay, I have just a last thing. You know, I sit on the college curriculum instruction committee, like with Mike, with Penny, with Alicia, who else is on it? Pam, where is she? Pam M, me, Rashida, wow, all these extra cool people. Okay, good. So I'm just putting forth, just giving you some ideas what you'll see in the college catalog, and I'm constantly going to those course descriptions to see what's happening now with prereqs. The biggest thing you're gonna see, and you guys are gonna laugh, you're gonna laugh.
Maureen.
What?
There you go. I was saying we're in the.
I know, I just saw that, they can't even see me. I mean,
You might want to
it's
scoot
bad
back.
enough you can't see me, but okay. What do I need to do?
You might want to go back so they
Oh,
can
Lord.
actually see you.
Seriously?
Okay, there you go.
Oh, okay. Math, accounting 1810. They added a prereq. They did, and it goes into effect fall. So it's a big deal for those who have just completed accounting 1800. Because now they have to show some proficiency in math. Well, look at the prereq rule. It's in your sheet here. It says math 1100 or higher with a C or better within the last 3 years, or placement into math 1150. So they did this way before math talked about their changes. So I just wanted to let you know this, so you are aware, and to see why students are giving you a hard time, not, saying, why can't I register, okay? So that's a big one for me, but so do you have questions? Yes, Tony?
Did they run this accounting department, run this by anybody? Like, they're probably gonna have a lot of issues making load in the fall.
I will tell you this, as far as I know, because the change didn't come through my campus, it went through Orchard's campus, and when Rhonda Brown took it through. They were thinking even Math 1070, but then they were asking about, well, what concepts are taught in Math 1070? And it wasn't quite what they were looking for. So So that's why they got hung up with that math 1100 or higher, but then that really does put students in a pickle. And maybe the accounting folks will see that. We'll see.
We'll see it.
Yes.
When they were talking about this whole thing with eliminating math 1100, blah, 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 does that mean just for the Michigan Reconnect, or are we not teaching that course anymore?
Yeah,
It's not clear on that at all.
it's for everyone. And so, the rule really would apply for my Reconnect students, but it's for everyone. But I want to get through
Okay,
these
just
changes
wondering.
before we go back to
Got
math,
it.
because I would like to go back to math, because I think it's fair for all of us. And if Pat McCullough's still on the line, perhaps she's on the committee with the math folks. So, God bless her for dealing with that. All right, CIS 1600, so they're removing CIS 1300 as a prereq, just so you're aware, fall 2023. Comms removing COM 1600. And for anyone who's trying to register graphic design students, they finally removed those co-recs. That the system's not gonna stop them from trying to register and have to register for a GRD 1120 if they're just registering for 1100. So that's been cleaned up. Take a look at your math grids, your course descriptions for all the math e-courses, because I think it's important, not that I want you to memorize them, but we're gonna have to keep looking at our course descriptions as we're working with math students to understand the sequences. So I think those are important just to kind of look at and pay attention to. Same thing with the course descriptions for social work. And you've got that sheet on the back of the firefighting that Alicia provided and Mary provided. That was a quick rundown. Certainly there are more, but they're very minor, like course description changes that really don't matter to you, your work really.
Noreen,
Yes.
can I point out something that's actually we might get student questions on?
Sure.
So when students try to search for classes for mental health social work, you can see it's listed twice on here.
Yes.
And so there's one class that's listed under this first one and then 8 under this other one. So students are going to probably look at this and say, oh, this is the 2000. And then the other one is the old curriculum. So we're going to have to be careful about directing students to look at, whichever one is appropriate for them. I didn't notice this until I was working with a student last night. And so I figured somebody else is going to run into it as well.
So, okay, and I know we're running out of time, we're a little past, but I have this room till 5, and Zoom room, you can stay on forever if you want. I will say Dr. Hearns was very upset with the conversation from Dr. Reynolds, and it's the message that was provided, so I just wanted to share that, because she had to go and she wanted me to let you know that I think she's gonna certainly address that, because it was just negative and not certainly something we're gonna tell students to do and whatever, so I just wanted to share that. Questions about anything? So I know that the hot topic today is math, but what questions do you have before we go in? Can you monitor the chat for that, please?
Yes, if I heard correctly, I believe Tanya just said ACC is going to change it to math 1125, is what Pam said. Accounting.
Accounting is gonna change it to math 1125. Well, that will be next year's catalog.
Okay. So this is only for people who are declaring accounting for 23, like switching their catalog year. They're not retro doing this.
No. So anyone who wants to take an accounting class, forget the
Like half of
degree
it,
program.
1500.
Forget the degree program. Anyone who wants to take accounting 1810 has to abide by the math rule. So like I said, someone who just took it 1800, they're ready for accounting 1810.
I thought they would have just been like kind of grandfathered in.
Not when it comes to prerequisite exemptions or prerequisites.
Of course not.
Okay, so we have questions. We have questions in the chat, Christina.
FYI, EMIT open house is May 4th. The EMIT open house is May 4th in the evening, Chris provided, but no questions.
Okay, so Gail has a question, colleagues?
So if someone already registered for accounting 1800 for the summer, are they gonna get kicked out if they don't have the math?
So if someone is registered, like.
It's already registered for counting 1,800 for
Starts in the fall.
And then registers next week for 1810.
Yeah.
They
Can,
will, they'll run pre-rec checks and they will take them out.
Stupid.
And the student's not gonna
I'm
know why
gonna
they lost the
watch
class.
This blow up, this is gonna be fun.
It's,
When they have nobody, when they can't fill any of these 1810 courses.
and you know what's pretty sad right now, we only have one faculty right now, another one's on sabbatical for accounting. Send them to Tom. I don't know. Yes, Doug, you want to take the check?
What happened when the 1,800 and the the accounting 1,500, we got permission to give an exemption by the dean. We asked for one of those.
For a while, yeah.
He did it once before.
I think,
Maybe you should give everybody the exemption.
you know, I think if he's allowing it, that's one thing, but I think, I mean, this is, accounting wanted this. And I would put it on accounting, not just go straight to the dean. Did you hear the question in the Zoom, colleagues, asking for a waiver? Okay, so what Doug was asking is, can we go to the dean to request a waiver from this math rule? And again, this is a math decision to have a math as a prereq. if you
For
know
this
how to-
semester, because they don't know about it.
Yeah.
And that-
No, they
yes,
didn't
I
say
think Ron
accounting.
will push back. on it.
You mean
I
it's an
think Ron
accounting
was-
decision?
Accounting decision.
Yeah.
It's accounting's decision, sorry, did I say something?
You said math, but yeah.
It's an accounting decision.
We're just
And I
gonna-
do believe Rhonda pushed back on it too. I
Rhonda,
don't,
yeah.
yeah, I don't think,
That's what they wanted, and I would
that's
think.
what the county wanted. That's what you wanted. That's what you-
Other questions?
Too many.
Any other, so again, I think if we try to get another meeting with the math, I don't know, if they come up with a better strategy for those who plays from 0 to 20, that would be very helpful for us. Stay tuned with that. Otherwise,
Do we know when the advise is coming out?
CRM advice?
Yeah.
So there's a group of us are on a committee, and some other folks who are gonna be training on it in April or talking about what we want to put in it. They're very ambitious. I think they wanna have a soft rollout of a group of people in the fall. We'll see, but that, I don't know when, like for all of us, because certainly we will all need some kind of training to understand how to use it, you know, what to do with it. I know, Gail, you cannot retire, so no one is retired. It is very tempting.
She was trying to talk.
Pierre and I were talking about it.
No,
way.
this is what they say, when they come up with a new program, we're retiring, so we can't hear them. Yeah, there's
You need that continuity.
Zoomers.
Too many. There's too many.
All right, well, thank you so much, thank you for.
Thank you, Molly. Great job.
Nice job.
Thanks, Renee.
All right. We have extra food, please take it. We have a whole bunch of pasta, take some. I don't have any to go for the table.
No, I had two appointments, but I only, one of them had.
You're right, you're right.
Because I'm like, I don't know. I think my. She was in the top of my pocket.
Had a paper.
Yeah. No, you're good.
I think you know our too, so it's nice to actually. That's right.
Well, what can I start carrying?
You wanna see, is anyone gonna take a box, potbelly sandwiches for their kids?
I ate so much cake.
Whatever you feed your family.
Yeah, because.
Oh.
I got it.
Peter.
We're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, Angela, I just want, we looked it up and there was never like a note that. But I'm just confused.
Information we need to know.
Oh, shit, that's going anyway. I
Yeah,
couldn't
like,
get
I think
it.
it's, you know what?
I should have never looked at that.
Yeah.
I was trying to think what easier.
Alright, bye, Mike.
Hey, goodbye, it was nice seeing you both. Hey, good to see you, Mike.
You gotta go back?
I have students, so I gotta go. Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, no, that, then I just shoot up Northwestern Middle Belt.
Oh, you take middle belt?
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, yeah, I'm Middle Belt, Long Lake, so
I'm
that
sure
would
there's
be
like $8
fine.
million places.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, they do.
Uh-oh.
No, I know.
I wanted to give you a standing O.
Well, these are wrong.
You did not
Right?
agree on that.
I was gonna like do much like him.
I know.
So we forget about all of them?
It was fantastic. I
And
mean,
I will tell you this, I don't know how you guys, your ass math.
very
And it's Michigan Reconnecting.
And they all play Super 1050.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Or even less than 100, I mean, this is reasonable to me, like, you know, I mean,
right.
it's.
You're talking, yeah, exactly.
Think 1100,
You want
I
to
think
do
five-
something like, I just, first of all, I
And
don't.
it's 1070, doesn't all 1070.
Unless what they did,
That's it.
unless they turned 1070 into a.
Or if they make 4 degrees in math.
And that's what I didn't understand, are they not teaching courses?
Wait, what do you think? She's a poor parent. There was kids with.
I know, because we were saying.
She saw my name up there. She don't want it.
She's like, for those.
And all, I'm surprised she said
So
no.
that was like, I don't, she criticized. We're just going to start waiting then.
Because all her
Kind of
kids
mad,
were,
you know?
when they were in eighth grade, they were doing like. Yes.
In the
So they
whole-
were being, because God forbid, we teach
Right,
kids
it's not one of those.
who are.
Yeah, so as long as
Need
they like
extra
have
help.
it or they plan well.
You know, I was like.
And how we gave
Credit
that
card.
extension.
At least like.
Yeah, credit card. Oh, it was like, I'm gonna just take care of our email. And I want you to do spill pops and stuff.
You know, oh, yeah, right.
She clearly doesn't want me to make.
I would totally think that. Hour thing, I'm not gonna do it if I'm not gonna get paid. 4 hours and then.
Nothing.
That makes sense. So anyhow, so I think
I've been here a long time.
I showed them the email. I said my email wasn't that great, and I was saying something else, and I was like, I'm gonna teach her a lesson, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Literally, she was right there.
I know these will take back to the.
I mean, she had left so long ago. I don't know. It was, I mean, I was in an area that would have actually too, because I was in like a dome.
And you're out.
And I'm a last soccer. Oh my god. Oh my god. So hopefully she didn't know it was about. It was really funny. What were the odds on that?
Next question, I didn't know what
And the last time, why would she in the hallway right there? Enjoy your day.
Yeah, like when you went.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Something we did.
Good to meet you. You too.
I'm gonna run.
I'll see some of you tomorrow.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
We have such a good program.
Where'd you guys park? I parked like the furthest place.
Okay.
Remember, this is one lot, right?
No, we parked on the front,
Okay.
Not there.
Okay.
This one closer, right?
Yeah, that's what we're saying. I know you can.
Dave, you're a feisty fella, aren't you?
I remember that.
I was so happy because I was like, it's always me. I need somebody else to do it.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
That was awesome. I was so happy.
I just want to be like, can we have another meeting? Please?
I told you, I was down in the bathroom, and I'm like, man, what team is this? I'm like, look at this.
I have seen.
I was like,
How long?
Oh, yeah.
How long did you make it on a monologue?
Make it look nice.
I will fail. I will totally fail.
Whose wagon is this?
Mine. Oh, I love it. It's coming so handy.
and when she asked her another question, I was like,
Is it a wagon?
Oh, no, I wish.
And I thought she was in the car, so it's not gonna be that long.
They won't fit in your mouth.
No, they won't. They want to break it.
Oh, she said, yeah.
I gotta use like that.
And the other company, you got it?
I think we're good. I don't want to do this ice.
I gotta use that.
right, I was like, I'm about to see my first Zoom fight.
Have you done
How does this work?
ever since? In like, right?
You're gonna make Chrissy choke out.
You don't want to.
Oh, she really is.
You put that in there. Do
I
not
need to go.
touch it. Yes. You keep doing good. Hey.
Thank you for putting this in.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw you were limping,
I
man.
know, I'm still limping. But I'm trying to walk straight, it hurts a little bit, so I just keep it on. But physical therapy now, they're gonna get more aggressive, that's when the pain comes in. So that they can stretch it. I never knew what people meant when they said I had to learn to re-walk, but literally, when I started to walk, like I darn near fell a couple times.
Wow.
Yeah, cause my leg it was weak and it wouldn't move and it had to make those movements a long
Like the
time.
nerves are not reaching.
Yeah.
And you have to relearn.
It just doesn't do what your brain is telling you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No, I believe it.
Yeah. So anyway, good job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I really do appreciate that. All right, this is good.
Hey, I have something.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm boss.
I don't care. I like that. I like following directions.
Who was that?
Yesterday, he asked me a question. Oh, Amber at Royal Oak, goes, I'm a decision follower, not a decision maker. Okay? That is not for me. I don't know how to answer that. But the other thing was, I was telling
Thank you
about
so much.
that,
I fussed on the toilet.
Oh, that's even better.
Won't surprise anybody in the city.
They're about why is ice in here?
No, there wasn't. I know there was an extra.
I like the statement that you put at the bottom of the fall timesheet, credit one, about when winter registration starts.
Oh, yeah. I thought, I started doing that. When did I start doing that?
That's a pattern that we set up when I was, by last year working.
Why would we do this? This makes sense, so they know. If whoever gets these, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a pattern that you and I set up with my last year working full time.
Yeah. No, we needed to have, someone else take this and do something with it, because you guys were doing it all the
That
time.
was extra from, who? Miriam.
Oh, that's nice.
We'll see you sometime next time,
Thank
whenever
you.
that is would be.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you for your help.
Don't forget to turn all these other
Yeah.
stuff off because they get upset.
No, I'll do that. I'll make sure everything's turned off and.
At least they do it over here, I know about here.
No, I will make sure. And
Back and
Carrie's
forth
on
side there.
the, Carrie's on the other side, so, she's still here. And I just think when she comes back, we'll come back and try. Okay, let's see. Okay. Yeah, to
You'll have your balloons out in the hall.
I'll get them. Thank you.
You want to bring them in?
Can you,
There's only two,
do
right?
you wanna grab them, put them in council by council?
I don't know where Johnson is.
Oh, where are you going?
On your way out,
Here.
you're going out the front.
I'm going out this door.
You need something? No.
I parked down here.
Okay, good. As long as you know,
Right,
okay.
I
Oh, good. This was in the front.
One of them was back here. Yeah, I think that one is two. So there was a
Were they in the
couple.
back or were they in the front?
I don't, I found, you pulled one and I found another one back here. So I don't know where you pulled one.
I think I would have pulled it from the front.
I would have thought so.
Here? Oh, man, I don't know.
Well, I'll definitely put the other one back
I
here.
definitely know this table.
Yeah, it was the. So yeah, I don't know if you had a second to look at me last time. I don't know what to do on this freaking mental health task force. I'm freaking drowning and I'm getting
What's wrong?
extremely.
I thought you guys were done.
No, we're not. So we sent, freaking responding to me. And it's really, I'm like, I don't know anything. So I should not be the person that I feel like I'm freaking leading it myself. And who do I know?
Is
And
Mary
so-
on it?
Yes. And I sent, we came up with a list of recommendations. I sent it to everyone. I was like, okay, if you want to edit this, please let me know. I need to give it to Pam. No replies. Fine. Send it to Pam. Pam had some questions. Send it to everyone. Hey, can you guys reply? I can fix these couple ones. And I don't know about this last one. No replies. So then Pam emails that
Everyone.
email
To
and
everyone.
it's like, can you do, and I don't know what more I can do. I don't know what to do.
What did she ask me to do?
I need it to submit it, pretty much. But no one has replied with how to fix it, fix the questions that she had.
Which questions?
Pam had questions on it because I gave it to her.
Pam McCall,
Yes.
questions.
Yeah. Number one, she wanted you to review it, which was fine. I'm like, but she wanted to see, because when we had some tasks on there, it was like, who's responsible for what? And she wanted that designated and like delineated. No, I'm not saying anything. I don't know. I don't know who's responsible for what. And no one's replying to me. And I don't know what to do because I
can take over now.
Great job.
Good job. I barely know what I'm doing.
I realized I didn't have another one until 4:30.
No,
So
no,
I was
oh,
like,
good,
"You need
good,
anything
good."
else?
Bags.
Rochelle didn't have my call maintenance and asked me to bring them down.
She doesn't have bags?
No, she doesn't
She
have
had no
bags.
idea.
Yeah, we looked, we even looked in the cabinets. I called
You
someone
know she has a
coming down.
secret stash?
God, you're being sassy today. Jeez.
Oh, that's doubles everything, triples
She does.
everything.
I'm very surprised too. I'm sure she's
Like,
surprised
I
too.
don't know. That's my secret stash. I'm not telling you.
All right, I have to run and ditch you guys because
What
the
else
only
do you-
appointment I have.
What
is
else do you
3:30.
need?
Oh, wow.
So,
Well, the thing is, I don't wanna keep.
You're gonna do it here, right?
yeah.
Okay.
I think if we can get maintenance to come and get this stuff.
Well, they said they'd come down here and bring us bags. I told her we filled up a lot of cans.
You need to carry those.
No, I'm good, just if you can help.
You don't need hands?
I'm good with,
Rochelle said no, thank you to the turkey because she can't, it's not kosher. And she said no to the veggie and Muriel's not there.
Okay,
So
so we gotta find who wants these sandwiches.
how many more are there? Here's your bags.
Oh, I didn't wanna leave this place crazy.
Thank you.
And I just, that was so mean.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
I'm the one that called.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Such a sweetie.
Do you want sandwiches?
No, that.
Oh. Yeah.
Because they're so kind to come do
They are
this
so
for us.
sweet, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 3 turkeys, 1 veggie, right?
Three.
We have,
Where's the bags? Where'd you do
They have them out there in the hallway.
Because look at this.
oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so they've got chips,
it's good dinner.
chips in here, cookies in here, okay, cookies. Okay, and they're from Potbelly.
Oh, nice.
You want to link it to that pasta salad?
Where do I put it?
That's all right.
I should get something going. I wonder if you have any.
If there was a bag, I sure would take something home.
I wonder if other ones. If we had some, right, we would definitely. Okay, let's see if they do. And then whatever else we can, we'll give it to them. Cool? Oh, here's an extra cookie.
Are you giving them to them?
Yeah.
Five more than the one.
That?
Can you carry, I can carry your stuff.
I like your stuff over there. I can carry something else too.
Oh, I got it. I can just dump them in here. I'm just trying to figure out which. I think the ladies will drink this stuff.
Who?
The ladies up front.
Oh, yeah.
Put it in the
Oh,
refrigerator.
for sure Muriel will. I see her with Papa Lot, Muriel and Connie, yeah.
Okay, then I'll.
They'll drink it.
Okay.
She said, Rochelle said, thank you very much for the pastries.
Oh, good, good.
They'll eat that, for
Those
sure.
you can eat. Those are kosher.
Except the turkey, she can't do.
Also,
Yeah.
anything that's
That's not me.
Okay,
Well,
I'm
she
keeping.
gets it- she gets it kosher, goes to a kosher butcher, she can
Right.
eat it, but when you
Oh,
don't
you
know
mean
where
like
it
the way
comes
it's
from.
prepared?
Yeah,
Oh, mine.
it's how it's prepared more than anything. I'll walk with you, I'll grab the balloons.
Oh, yeah, on the way. Sweet.
Such a Nareen, but little sweet balloons.
I thought it would be like fun for summer.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me close this.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, I have all my crap over
Oh,
here.
you got everything, everything.
Ah, I got the math stuff.
I don't know, they might need to offer these some of these older, mature adjuncts more money if they want us to stay, I'm gonna tell you.
So, oh,
Because Doreen sent me a note and Pat sent a note.